Euphysine reeled back in pain. At this time, a huge earthquake shook the hall. "No a euro, no a euro, new a euro," Euphysine shouted frantically, more due to the earthquake than the pain caused by Jack's slash. She understood what this earthquake was. Her eyes turned to where the divine heritage used to be. The divine heritage was already inside Master's inventory. Master was floating in the sky and still had Grace pinned to the wall. He had been pondering whether he should use this chance to ambush and kill Jack while Jack was busy with Euphysine. But after seeing Euphysines' eyes, he knew he would be the Mad Priestess' main target. It would be him who got ganged up on instead. So he chose to retreat. He sent a message to Motherboard. This entire dimension was supported by the divine heritage. Even when sealed, it maintained its link to this dimension. Once the divine heritage entered Master's inventory, this link was cut. The dimension lost its power source, so it started to collapse. That was the cause of the huge earthquake. At the moment, this mansion had returned to the normal game world. The dimension that held Euphysine's bizarre game was no more. And so, Master could send messages again. Soon, a text box with an offer appeared in front of him. He accepted the offer and disappeared from there just as Euphysine's ice sword flew past where he was a moment ago. "New a euro!" Euphysine screamed madly. Jack understood how Master escaped. The vanishing animation was from the activation of a recall plate. Master must have given one to his subordinates to use in an emergency, so he could flee even during combat. Euphysine was still screaming madly. She couldn't accept the fact that the divine heritage was gone. Jack saw this as best a time as any to go full offense. He summoned his spirit weapon. With Thera's Earthcore Bomb and the spirit weapon's final mode, he performed another combination attack. He unleashed Soul Breath and Lightning God Barrage. After activating his Dragon Eye, he also cast Orb of Storm and Perpetual Lightning Judgment. When Talia saw Jack's assault, she also acted. She had been weakened, but after Jack saved her, she had been gathering power. She now unleashed that power. "Sister a euro." She made one last call to Euphysine as her spell was cast. Dense flames swirled around Euphysine. It was her Flame Nova. It looked much weaker compared to Euphysine's Ice Nova and Aglee's Light Nova, but all three were spells of the same power level. The difference was that Talia was in a weakened state and she also used mana manipulation to control the AoE of the spell, so that it was concentrated and didn't hit Jack and the others inside this hall. The 6 massive attacks of 5 elements landed on Euphysine's body. Her mind was still lamenting the loss of the divine heritage. She didn't do anything to defend herself. The blast from the attack sent a shockwave throughout the hall. Everyone was sent crashing into the wall. The first thing Jack did after regaining balance was look at his radar. There was no longer a red dot in the middle of the hall. The dissipating dust cloud from the explosion revealed Euphysine, who was on the ground. She was not moving. Several items were beside her, while one small glowing orb floated toward Talia and entered her body. "Yes, a euro!" Jack exclaimed. Floating beside him was his runestone of luck. He wasn't confident his combined attack could take out Euphysine's remaining health point. Even combining his attacks with master spells only yielded them 10% of Euphysine's health point. But when he saw Talia's flames, he knew the combination attack might be the killing blow, so he summoned his runestone of luck. While Jack rejoiced at the triumph, Talia slumped on the ground. Tears rolled down her face. Despite the victory, she was now alone. Both her sisters were gone. Jack realized her sadness and tried to tone down his joy in winning this battle. He came to Talia and said, "I'm sorry for your loss." Talia took a deep breath. "I lost her long ago. What we defeated just now is just a husk of her former self." Jack didn't know what else to say, so he moved away and headed to where Euphysine's body was to take a look at the loots. But then he saw Kramer's body not far away. It was badly burned but otherwise intact. It was not yet 1 hour. He turned to Talia and asked, "Talia, do you have the resurrection spell?" Talia looked confused for a moment. She then answered, "Unfortunately, I'm not proficient in healing spells, but why do you want to resurrect Euphysine?" "Not her," Jack said. He then took out his kingdom badge. He had received several message notifications after the big earthquake. He knew then that they were back to the normal world. Jack interfaced with his kingdom badge and Laurent appeared in front of him. "What can I help you with, Your Majesty?" Laurent asked. He didn't see any enemies around. There were signs of battle, though. "Laurent, please tell me your resurrection spell is not on cooldown euro," Jack said with hopeful eyes. "Euro it is not," Laurent answered. "Perfect. Quick, come. Please, resurrect this one." Jack gestured for Laurent to follow while pointing at Kramer's body. Even though he was confused, Laurent followed through with the request. He cast the spell once Kramer was within range. A soothing light fell above Kramer's body. Jack watched with expectant eyes as the light dissipated. Kramer's eyes opened then. "Yes, euro," Jack exclaimed. Euro, Your Majesty euro?" Kramer asked weakly. His mind was hazy. He couldn't remember much. He also felt pains all over his body. "Don't move first, you are still hurt," Jack said. The resurrection brought Kramer back to life with only 10% of health point. Many burned marks were still on his body. Laurent cast a few more healing spells to bring Kramer's health point back up. Peniel also helped with the healing. The burned marks around Kramer's body soon vanished magically. Now looked as good as new. He remembered what had happened then. I thought I did euro?" he asked. "You did. He brought you back." Jack pointed at Laurent. "The euro thank you euro," Kramer said to Laurent. "Thank His Majesty, I only did as His Majesty commanded," Laurent replied. "I'm just glad you are safe. Stay still and rest." "We are safe now," Jack said to Kramer. Grace came then. In her hands were a bunch of items. You shouldn't leave valuable loot like that. What if someone comes and snatches them?" There was quite an assortment of items in Grace's hands, but Jack's eyes were fixed on one particular item because it was registered with purple color in his monocle. The item was a large piece of cloth. "A legendary item!" Jack exclaimed and picked that cloth up. Turned out to be a cloak. This was even better. This was his first legendary equipment. The cloak's color seemed to constantly change. Red, green, blue, yellow, purple, light, black, and then back to red again. The sight was mystifying. "Yeah, even without mana sense, anyone can see this is an exceptional cloak," Grace said. Jack used his inspect. "Cloak of the Elemental God, legendary cloak. Select one element among fire, ice, wind, earth, lightning, dark, or light. Cooldown 5 minutes. Plus 100 resistance to the selected element. Plus 500 to physical and magical defense. All hostiles within a radius of 3 meters receive 10% damage from the selected element each second. Automatically parry incoming attacks, blocking 30,000 damage. Any excess damage will be reduced by 25%. The effect is doubled if the damage is from the selected element. Cooldown, 5 seconds. Elemental God Barrier, active skill form a protective shell within a radius of 5 meters for 5 seconds. Block 500,000 damage. Excess damage is reduced by 50%. The effect is doubled if the damage is from the selected element. Cooldown, 2 hours. "This is very good defensive equipment," Jack exclaimed after reading the description. Without further ado, he immediately unequipped his cloak of shadow to put on this cloak of the elemental god. He had a slight sentimental feeling when he took off the cloak of shadow. This cloak had followed him for quite some time. Its shadow meld ability had saved him many times. But he had the invisibility spell now, he didn't need that ability anymore. "What is the grade of your cloak?" Jack asked Grace. "Unique grade." "Why?" Grace asked back. "Never mind," Jack said. He planned to give the cloak of shadow to Grace if she was still wearing a lower grade cloak. He would just give it to the others in the guild later. When Jack equipped the cloak of the elemental god, it asked him to choose an element. If he didn't respond within 5 seconds, a random element would be chosen. Jack chose the fire element. Jack didn't worry that the choice was permanent because he saw a cooldown period in the description for the element selection. After the fire element was chosen, the cloak behind him seemed to burst into flames. His friends even worry that he got burned. But he felt just fine. He didn't feel any heat. He even touched the fiery cloak and lifted it. It still felt like cloth. The fire was raging in his hand, but it didn't burn him. He looked at the cloak's cooldown timer. He could change the cloak into another element once the 5-minute cooldown was completed. This meant he could adjust the element based on his opponent. This allowed for great flexibility. He liked this cloak very much. "Grace, attack me with your mana bullet," Jack said. "What? Why?" Grace asked. "I want to test this cloak's ability," Jack answered. "Don't you see my hands are full? Aren't you going to take these remaining items?" Grace asked. Jack took all the goods and just shoved them into his inventory. He would browse through them later. "Okay, hit me," Jack said. Grace shook her head. She cast her mana bullet at Jack. Jack remained still with folded arms. When the mana bullet almost hit Jack, his fiery cloak moved by itself and intercepted the attack. Jack didn't receive any damage. "Cool," Jack exclaimed. "The description says it can block damage up to 30,000 damage. That is more than half my health point. If it is an attack from the selected element, it can block twice the damage. This means at this moment it can block a fire attack that might have killed me in a single hit, and it can do that every 5 seconds. You will be harder to kill with that cloak," Grace said. "Hee hee," Jack grinned. He was tempted to test the active skill of the cloak, the elemental god barrier, but this skill had a cooldown of 2 hours. It would be trouble if he suddenly needed this skill in the coming 2 hours. Even so, 2 hours was a very short cooldown for such a powerful skill. The skill could block 500,000 or even 1 million damage if it was the chosen element. That was almost half of Euphesine's total health point. He figured if he used this skill, it might look similar to what Talia used to protect them when Agli used her light nova, especially since he was using the fire element at the moment. "That is a very fine cloak," Talia said. She looked much better than before. She still seemed sad, but there was also a relief in her expression. "Are you okay?" Jack asked her. Talia simply smiled in response. "Let's go outside to the garden," she said. Euphesine's dimension where her game took place had been destroyed. The past participants that are still in training within that dimension should be outside. "What about the Outworlders in the basement?" Jack asked. "You know about them?" Talia asked. Jack nodded. During the time he was freeing Talia, he sent one of his copies to check on Grace and the others who were fighting the happy dolls outside in the garden. After seeing that there was nothing to worry about, Jack sent that copy to roam around the mansion, especially the area where he had not gone to when he was in his incorporeal state. He found stairs that led into the basement, and under there, he saw lots of players in bound condition. All these players were level 1. They were all bound and had a large tube going into their mouth. Every few seconds, these players jerked and then something shiny flowed out of them through the tubes and went somewhere else. The scene was extremely bizarre, like some sort of human factory from some sci-fi movies. "They should be outside as well," Talia replied. "There are players in the basement?" Grace asked while they were walking outside. Jack told her about what he saw down there. "I can't do anything since it is just my copy down there. I thought about changing places with that copy and tried to free the players, but I'm not sure if doing that will alert Euphesine. So, I decided to just leave them for later. If you tried freeing them, that will indeed alert Euphesine," Talia said. "How do you know about them?" "I thought Euphesine kept you locked up," Jack asked. "After Euphesine took away your spirit form ability, she started to tell me everything about her game," Talia answered. "Once she started talking, she couldn't stop. In her own way, she was truly proud of her game Euro. I tried to talk some sense into her, but she was no longer the sister I knew. Those people in the basement were the Outworlders who lost in the game. I thought they were brought to the nursery hall and were trained to rejoin the next game?" Grace asked. "I see that you are familiar with Euphesine's game as well?" Talia asked back. "We met a past participant who explained it to us," Grace answered. "Then you should know there were some Outworlders who decided they have had enough and refused to go with the program," Talia said. "Do you mean Euro?" Talia nodded. "The ones in the basement were players who defied Euphesine and refused to participate in her game anymore. So, Euphysine made use of them in a different way. The dimension that Euphysine had created required tremendous energy. Euphysine had to constantly draw power from the divine heritage to sustain the dimension. Doing so endlessly is excruciatingly tiring. Hence, when the first few Outworlders refused to follow her program, she took them away and started experimenting on them. That's awfully Euro, Grace uttered. It was, Talia agreed. With the power of a god in her hand, she finally devised a way to suck mana out of Outworlders. Every time an Outworlder dies and rebirths, mana converges around them to complete the process. This mana was what Euphysine took to help her ease the burden of her dimension by a little. The Outworlders were constantly killed? Grace asked in disbelief. Euphysine installed an enchantment so that they were rebirthed at the same place, so they would always be bound. So, they could be continuously killed and harvested for their energy. This might be the first time I didn't envy your kind's immortality, Lauron remarked. He was walking with them. They might still need his healing spells, so Jack let him hang around. Are you sure they are outside as well? Jack asked. Maybe they are still in the basement. Our mansion has no basement. The basement you saw is another of Euphysine's pocket worlds, Talia answered. She just attached it to the Nexus world for easy access to the produced energy. When her dimension was destroyed, they should be released like the others. They were nearing the mansion's exit now. They heard murmurs. It sounded like a crowd was out there. When they came out the main door into the garden, they saw that it was indeed a crowd. These are they all participants in Euphysine's game Euro? This is too many Euro, Grace said after seeing the scene. There were probably thousands of people out there. Around them, outside the garden, were large trees. Jack and Grace remembered the landscape as one from the Sylvan region. Seeing those trees told them that they were back to the normal game world again. There are a lot of native Euro, Jack said after using his inspect on some. They can't be the past participants. Euro natives die for real, and there is only one winner in each game. Fella, Talia called when she saw one of the natives in the crowd. Jack heard something different in her voice when she called the native. She sounded joyful. The native woman, whom Talia called, looked over. Her voice turned bright upon seeing Talia. My Lodja Euro, she called. Not only her. A lot of the other natives came also. Most of them were women. Arthea Euro, they are my faction members, Talia told Jack with a smile. It was a genuinely happy smile. Jack thought this was the first time he saw her this happy. Talia went and embraced her people. Hey, you people survive. Jack and Grace turned to the voice and saw Winston and the others there. You chicken shit, you ran outside? Jack said. Aren't you the one who asked us to find safety? Sadie said. Yes, I'm just joking. I'm glad you didn't try going back in, Jack said. I can't believe it. Kitty you truly kept your promise, Freddy said. You free us from that awful place. Yeah. I've lost hope for so long. Thank you, Sadie exclaimed. Hey Euro. Hiya Euro. They heard shouting. They turned and saw more familiar faces. Out of the crowd, Stefan, Naomi, Tom, Dina, and Richard came running to them. They had one similarity. All of them were level 1. You made it. You people truly won. Unfucking believable, Stefan said as he approached. How did you manage to defeat that monster? Naomi asked. Let's leave that tale for later, Jack said with a laugh. He asked, everyone all right? They nodded with wide smiles. Some of them had been locked up for some time. Felt truly good to finally be freed. My dear. Oh, how I miss you Euro. They heard another voice. Grace face-bombed. She was relieved the guy was safe since he died protecting her. But she also felt nauseous once she heard his voice. Out of the crowd, Evan came running to Grace and was met by Jack's fist. Chill it, dude. She is taken already. Go find another goddess, Jack said to Evan, who was massaging his jaw. Jack then felt Grace's arms on his. Grace was clasping his arm. That's right. I'm already taken, Grace said, seemingly to Evan, but her eyes were on Jack. Jack was unsure how to respond. When he was still thinking the right words to say, Grace's face turned stern. Jack was about to ask her what was wrong when she said in an urgent voice, "We need to leave." "What? Why?" Jack asked, confused. "Master is on his way here," Grace answered. "With his army." "What? Army? Why? Are they coming to save us?" Stefan asked. He and the others didn't quite catch the situation. He still saw Master as a teammate from Euphesine's game. "How do you know?" Jack asked Grace. "Spring Crown told me," Grace answered. "Spring Crown a euro? Hey, where's that guy?" Jack looked around. He just remembered there was still this enemy from Master's camp. "He left when the forest reappeared," Freddie answered. "Left? So, how do you a euro?" "He sent me a message," Grace answered before Jack completed his question. "Sent a message? Do you mean a euro?" "Yes, he is on my friend list." Grace again answered before Jack finished his question. "I received a notification of a friend request from him right after that big earthquake. I accepted the request not long ago." "Can he be trusted?" Jack asked. "I think we can. I don't think he is a bad one," Grace replied. "HM a euro, well, I don't want to just take his words at face value, but I think it makes sense. Master must have prepared an army nearby to assault the Council of Charites. He hadn't begun the attack because none of his scouts came back with a report. Now that he returned with a clear knowledge that this faction is vulnerable, it's time to attack. Spring Crown just explained to me. It is roughly like what you said," Grace informed. "Master scouts just happened to find out about this faction's location after conquering Hydrarond. Hence, Master took a portion of his army to raise this place. He has been keeping the army back until he has a clear picture of what awaits them. Butayuro, why is he still coming here? He has already gotten the divine heritage." "I am here," Jack said. "Plus Talia and those other natives from her faction serve as a rich pool of EXP points and loot. I don't think Master would let them go." "What about us?" Stefan asked. He was still bewildered, but he roughly understood the situation after hearing the conversation. "I don't think he cared about players, but it is still best to avoid his army. If any of you have town return scroll, you better use it." "How long do we have?" Jack asked Grace. "I'll ask." Grace went silent for a while. She then said, "He said he isn't sure. He isn't with the army. He has used a town return scroll. If the army was waiting in its previous position, then we should only have around 2 hours." "I will go warn Talia," Jack said and ran to where Talia was. Talia saw Jack running to him with a serious expression. She asked, "Something's the matter?" "Yes," Jack said. "The Outworlder who has stolen your faction's divine heritage. He is on his way here with an army. We must leave at once." "Hasn't he already gotten what he came here for?" Talia asked the same question as Grace. "He probably thinks there are more treasures here," Jack answered. He didn't feel that mentioning the EXP points and loots to these natives was appropriate. "We only have 2 hours at most. Are all of you good to move?" Jack asked the natives who were with Talia. These natives instead turned to Talia for a decision. "We don't need to move," Talia said. She lifted her hand and a glowing orb appeared. Jack remembered this was the same orb that floated to her after Euphesine was defeated. "This is our faction's legacy. Euphesine seized it when she came into power," Talia explained. "Now that all my sisters are gone, I'm the sole proprietor of it. Inside it is the control board for our base. Our base might be in ruin, but it still has enough power to teleport itself back to where it was originally located." Jack didn't see anything that looked like a control board, but Talia's hands were dancing in the air. This was probably only visible to the user, like the Monarch system. "All of you will be teleported following this base?" Jack asked. "Everyone who is within the mansion and this garden will be teleported," Talia informed. Hearing that, Jack said, "In that case, give me a moment before you start the teleportation process." Jack cast the soar spell and floated up so everyone could see him. He then used mana manipulation to enhance his voice. "Everyone, listen Upia Euro." Everyone turned to him upon his shout. I know all of you are still confused, but know that your time in captivity is over. The host of the game you are forced to play is no more. You are free. However, you are not safe yet. At this moment, Liguridium's army is heading here. They might leave you alone, they might not. If any of you want to leave, you have better do it now. In a few minutes, this base will be teleported somewhere else. I can see that most of you are ethereals, draconians, and elves. Your countries are close by. Once we teleported, you might find yourselves far away from home. So, leave now if you wish to do so. Use your town return scroll or go out of the confine of this garden. One of the players down there shouted back, "Who the hell are you? Why should we listen to you?" Another loud voice that was also powered by mana manipulation resounded in the air. "He is your savior, you ungrateful toad. He is the one who defeated the host of this game and free you from captivity." Everyone turned to the voice and saw Freddy. A large portion of the players knew him. He was the reigning champion of the game, so most have crossed paths with him during the Battle Royale match. Upon the declaration, many now saw Jack with different eyes. One of the players slapped the head of the one who had shouted back at Jack. "Don't you see his outfit? That is the Themisphere King, you dolt." Seeing that everyone is more agreeable, Jack declared, "You have 2 minutes. Afterward, you will have to follow to wherever this place takes you." Jack floated down back to Talia's side. "Give them 2 minutes," Jack said to her. Several players moved away. Most were from the 3 races whose countries were nearby, but a decent number stayed. While waiting, Jack asked the natives who were Talia's faction members, "In Euphesine's dimension, I only see a Glee and her. Were you all imprisoned?" The one whom Talia had called Thela answered, "In a Waiuro, yes, we are imprisoned. They were the baby dolls we have been fighting," Freddy said. He and the others came to Jack's side. Winston added, "We have run out to this garden after that crazy light explosion. After the big earthquake, those inert happy dolls crumbled by themselves. In their places, these natives appeared. Euphesine did that to punish us," Thela said. "We refused to participate in organizing her wicked game, so she trapped us inside her tethered puppet. We were forced to stay still and attack intruders if one ever appeared. We can't live, but we also can't die a euro. Euphesine even used our followers in such a cruel Waiuro." Talia shook her head in sadness. "Okay, 2 minutes are up. Do it, Talia," Jack said. Talia nodded. Her hands again danced in the air. The air around them started to shimmer. The landscape outside the garden turned blurry. Some players thought it was their eyes. They scrubbed the eyes, but the scene remained. Once the blurriness was gone, the landscape outside was completely different. The tall trees that were characteristic of the Shilvan region were gone. Around them was a hilly landscape with sparse trees. The sky was clear above. "Where are we?" Jack asked Talia. "We are in Palgrost, but we are deep in the wilderness. You have to be careful not to venture too far. The monsters around here are high in level. That's how we secluded ourselves," Talia answered, but he then added, "However, I think you will be fine against those monsters." After defeating Euphesine, Jack's levels increased. Winston and the others had gone too far, so they didn't receive the EXP points. The EXP points were divided only between Jack, Duras, and Grace. Jack and Grace leveled up 3 times. Each of Jack's classes went up 1 level. Duras leveled up 2 times. All of Jack's classes were now level 74. Grace and Duras were level 75. Jack also received a notification that his quest, Help Talia Escape, was completed. He received 8 million EXP, 100 gold coins, and 10,000 mana cores. He remembered the description said an additional reward was possible, but he received no other reward. The EXP points let his Time Sage level up another time. It was level 75 now. Jack opened his map. They were indeed in Palgrost. He was in an area he hadn't visited before, so his map was mostly gray all around, but the description on his map indicated he was in the Republic of Palgrost. He looked at the players who had decided to not leave and feel pity for them. They would have difficulty leaving this area considering their levels were still low. They were mostly players who were still halfway through the training in Euphesine's nursery hall. "What are you going to do now?" Jack asked Talia. "Will you rebuild this base?" Talia shook her head. "This place is already too damaged. We will move away and find someplace else to settle." Talia might have said that, but from her sad expression, Jack understood the reason might probably be because the memory of this place was too painful. She lost both her sisters here, not in a peaceful way. She probably wanted to forget all of this and start fresh. Jack empathized with her feeling, but he didn't know what to say to console her. He was just about to wish her luck when he thought of something. "Talia, since you are looking for somewhere to settle, how about Themisphere?" Jack asked. "From my getup, I think you can guess I am that country's king. I can help you build a base for your faction in one of my cities." "Themispheria Euro? I don't know. We aren't sure about the hustle and bustle of a city Euro," Talia said. "Penuel, can a wonder be built in a village or town?" Jack asked via his mind. If it could, he would offer Talia to relocate to one of Themisphere's towns or villages instead. Those settlements would be less hectic. "No. A settlement needs to be at least a metropolis to build a wonder building," Penuel answered. Since this option was out, he tried a different approach. "I don't think it is safe for your faction to be out in the open," Jack said. "I believe you have lost quite many members since the incident with Euphesine started. Am I right?" Talia didn't deny that. Many members left the faction even before Euphesine found the divine heritage. Their faction was only a fraction of its former self. Some bad people might come to try to steal your faction's legacy. I believe you store lots of treasure in there. Jack was familiar with the faction's legacy because Padoan also had one. "It will be safer if you stay inside one of my cities." "How can we know if you are not the one coveting it?" one of the natives said. "You Outworlders are all greedy lot." "Stop it, Axo. You are being impolite," Talia chided. "He saved my life during the battle with Euphesine. He had the chance to do what he came here for, but he chose to let it go to save me instead. Other Outworlders might be greedy, but not him. I believe in him. I trust he harbors no thought about stealing our treasures." Axo lowered her head from the scolding. "But what use is there to rebuild our faction?" Another native beside Talia, whose name was Carpi, said. "Before we were imprisoned inside those happy dolls, Lady Euphesine told us the goddess Joy no longer exists. What is the use for our faction if we have no more goddess to worship?" "You shouldn't despair like that," Jack said. "Your goddess might be gone for now, but she can return." Talia and the other natives turned to Jack. "Mr. Storm, please don't joke about this issue." "I am not," Jack said, giving them a serious face. "That divine heritage. It is the essence of your goddess. I believe you felt her presence when you were near it. Didn't you?" Jack asked Talia. Talia didn't deny the statement. Jack continued, "Your goddess essence within the divine heritage will continue to grow as long as people are worshipping her. When her essence grows strong enough, she will return." "Is that true?" Carpi asked. Hope was on her face. "Butayuro, the divine heritage had been taken, right?" Exo asked. "Then we should get it back," Thella exclaimed. "Either that or after Master uses the divine heritage," Jack thought. Once that happened, another divine heritage would reappear inside the altar of its corresponding divine faction, ready to grow through the worship of its followers again. Before leaving for Themisphere, Jack had made a stop to visit the newly built sanctuary for courage in Theramdel. From inside the altar, Pallas and Mihos sensed the faint presence of their god. After Fear used the divine heritage to craft the god-killer, the god of courage's essence was freed. When Jack built the sanctuary for courage, it finally had a place to nest and thus formed another divine heritage within the altar. This discovery had given Pallas and his brethren great elation. They were so happy that they seemed to forget about their hatred for the Council of Phobos. Their main objective was now keeping the divine heritage safe at any cost rather than seeking revenge. Jack told Talia and the others about all this. After the story, Jack saw their eyes were filled with hope. Talia agreed with Jack's proposal to rebuild her faction inside one of the cities in Themisphere. She would move to Themisphere with her members while Jack started working on the construction of their new base. Jack promised that their base would be waiting for them once they arrived. As Talia was still talking with Jack about the arrangement, a group of natives approached. Irenia Euro, Talia called the leader of the group. Lady Talia, I'm sorry. We will be leaving the faction. I believe you understand why, Erin said with a deep bow. You are not at fault, Euro. I am. We are, Erin exclaimed. She then turned to Jack and said, Mr. Stormwind, I am sorry for our outburst. Me and my sisters here, we are Euphesine's followers, Euro, or at least used to be. Euphesine's followers? Euro, you were also imprisoned inside the Happy Dolls? Jack asked. We are. When Euphesine promised us that she would bring glory back to our faction, we believed her. We followed her instructions. She asked us to go bring outsiders into our faction. We didn't know what her intention was, but we did what she asked because we believed in her. Then we saw her force these people to play her game. A woman beside Erin, whose name was Dickie, said, Not the kind of game we usually play to honor our goddess, but a twisted kind where people are sacrificed. She said they were sacrifices for our goddess, Erin continued. But we all know our goddess will never want this kind of cruel game. So Euro, we protested. Euro, and she punished you for that, Jack said. Erin and Dickie nodded. Talia is right. You are not at fault, Jack said to them. You don't know what Euphesine was planning. Erin shook her head. We should have known ever since she asked us to go kidnap the first group of participants for her game. This is a shame we won't be able to undo for the rest of our lives. That's why we can no longer be part of the Council of Charites. Even if we manage to bring our goddess back, we are too ashamed to kneel before her. That's why we have a favor to ask of you. A favor, Euro? Jack was unsure what he could help them with. Let us join the army of your kingdom, Erin said. We might not be able to be a part of the Council of Charites anymore, but we can protect the country our faction is in. By keeping your country safe, we can keep our faction safe. Irenia Euro, Talia uttered. Please, Mr. Stormwind, your majesty, Erin declared. She knelt before Jack. Dickie and the others with Erin also followed her into kneeling. Thesa Euro, Jack turned to Talia. Unsure of what to do, Talia sighed. She then said to Jack, If you don't mind, please accept their wishes. Of course, Jack didn't mind. The group that Erin brought were all elite ones. Most of them were rare elites with levels around 65 to 80. The weakest ones were special elites, while Erin and Dickie were the strongest of the bunch. Dickie was level 81 mythical while Erin was level 84 mythical. Erin was almost as powerful as Talia. This group numbered roughly 1,000. If they joined his army, they would be one of the elites. So Jack said, Of course I won't mind. I will be relying on you all then. I don't want to burst your bubble, but you cannot just induct them all into your country's army, Peniel said. I can't, Jack asked. The ones with the human race have no problem, but you can't accept other races into your formal army, Peniel replied. I can't? Isn't that racist? Jack protested. Peniel shrugged. It's the world system rule. But aren't there other races Outworlders who joined Themisphere's kingdom faction? Grace asked. Outworlders aren't bound by this rule, Peniel answered. You won't be able to do it with the natives from the other races. But why? Jack protested again. Again Peniel shrugged. Erin and Dickie looked at one another. Erin was a human, so she had no problem joining Themisphere's army. But it was a different case for Dickie. She was an elf. Within the group led by the two, plenty were also non-humans. These non-human ones looked down with sad faces. They were too shameful to remain in their faction. Now they also were not allowed to defend the country their faction was in. Themisphere. What if you whose races are not human join my guild? Are you interested? Jack thought for a bit about the matter. He then said, Aside from being the king of Themisphere, I'm also a leader of a guild in Themisphere. What if you whose races are not human join my guild? Are you interested? We don't have a problem with that, right? Jack asked Peniel. The everlasting heavenly legends had hired plenty of natives as of now. Mostly those that helped with the auxiliary jobs like Kersey, who had been helping in the blacksmith workshop. However, all those hires were humans. Guild is okay. You can take in any race you want, Penuel said. But they are not part of your guild army. So, don't expect to be able to summon them for war. Well, but you can help defend the guild and the nearby capital if the enemy comes attacking, Jack said to Dickie and the others. So, what do you think? Dickie turned to her sisters. They didn't say anything, but their eyes were in agreement. Dickie turned back to Jack and said, "We would be honored to join your guild." "Perfect," Jack exclaimed. "Then I guess everyone will be leaving for Themisphere. Do you need to pack before we start going?" "Give us a few hours," Talia said. "Everyone has just recovered their forms. They may still have some possessions inside the manor. Take your time. We can stay one day here and depart tomorrow if you like," Jack said. "That will not be necessary. We will only need a few hours," Talia replied. Many of the natives then started going into the mansion to pack their things. When Erin was going to go as well, Jack called her. "Yes, Your Majesty?" Erin asked. "Say, are you interested in being my royal agent?" Jack asked. Jack and Grace were trapped inside Euphesine's dimensions for more than a week. During that time, Jack had no access to his affairs overview of his monarch system. Hence, several affairs had been neglected. Some were even the ones the investigative teams had investigated. They tried sending their findings to Jack, but because Jack was trapped in another dimension, he couldn't receive their message. The deadline for those affairs arrived, and they ended without a resolution. However, during the 2 weeks Jack spent on the road on their way to the Council of Charites, he solved 3 affairs. The results of those 3 affairs were 2 perfect and 1 good, netting him 280,000 merits and 10 ruling powers. When Euphesine's dimension was destroyed not long ago, there were 3 new affairs, but 2 were almost upon their deadline. It won't be enough time to send the investigator teams. So, he just randomly chose one answer from the multiple choices and ended up with 1 mediocre and 1 bad result. He earned 40,000 merits from the mediocre one and was deducted 30,000 merits from the bad one. "Shit! A bad result can reduce my merit points," Jack asked Penuel when that happened. "Yeah, you make a bad judgment. You think people will thank you for that?" Penuel asked back. Jack rubbed his forehead. In this case, probably it was best to not pick any of the choices if he was not sure. But after thinking about it, this might not be bad. He didn't think Master had the same system where he sent people to investigate these affairs. He bet Master relied on his own intellect to solve these affairs. If so, then Master's chance of scoring a bad result should be higher, which meant Master's rate at increasing the sovereign level should be slower than his. For the last affair, Jack sent the information to the investigative teams. The total 290,000 merit points he had received was able to push his sovereign level to level 12. He received another 10 ruling powers from that level up. But most importantly, after reaching sovereign level 12, he could appoint his 9th royal agent. This was what he offered Erin. Erin was puzzled by the offer. She didn't truly understand the concept. Jack and Penuel explained to her. After hearing this, she said, "It will be my honor. What better way to defend the country than by defending its sovereign?" "Perfect." Jack sent her the request then. She was not formally part of the kingdom faction yet, but apparently, as long as it was a human native and the person was within range, he could send the offer. Erin accepted. Her data was now available on Jack's royal agent page. She turned out to be like Lindsay, a weapon user as well as a spellcaster at the same time. She had both skill traits and spell traits. She had 7 skill traits: spear, polearm, fist, dart, shield, form, and move. As for spell traits, she had arcane, summon, enchant, offense, and boundary. Her affinities were ice, light, and wind. She also had 3 talents: ice proficiency, ice domination, and vigorous body. Ice proficiency increased ice damage by 10%. It also improved her chance of learning ice spells and could learn ice spells with a requirement of 20 levels and above. Ice domination increased ice damage by another 10%. Aside from that, it increased the affected area of AoE ice spells by 20%. It also increased the range for ice spells by 30%, and her ice resistance was added by 50 points. Vigorous Body added 10% to her health point, stamina, and mana. It also improved all her passive recoveries by 50%. When Jack wanted to use the kingdom's coins to improve her gears, he saw that it was not needed. All her gears were unique grades. As a level 84 mythical, she had many skills and spells, one of which attracted Jack's attention. She had Euphesine's ultimate spell, the Ice Nova. A top warrior from a divine faction was truly something else, Jack stated in his mind. Aryan was now the strongest among his royal agent. Stronger even than his companion Arlcard. As Jack was admiring Aryan's stats, Kramer came to him. The native had heard Aryan's request to join the Themisphere army. He was now kneeling before Jack and requested the same. Your Majesty, please let me join your army as well. Jack turned to Kramer. He hesitated for a bit before asking, Are you sure? It's not a safe life. I was an adventurer. I've no problem with risky life. All my comrades from my adventurer team are no more. I've no place to return to. If I can be of use to you, my benefactor, it will be my others then. Thank you, Your Majesty, Jack said. Greatest honor. Jack nodded. All right, go to Themisphere with Talia and the others then. Thank you, Your Majesty, Jack said. But no more stunts like the one in the battle just now, Jack warned. You have to be more careful. Don't throw your life away like that. I don't regret it, Your Majesty, Kramer replied. His expression was determined. You are not only my savior. You have taught me a lot of things as well, especially what you said about good will always win. I believe that as long as you are alive, you will win, even against someone as powerful as Euphesine. That's why I'm willing to give my life to protect you. And I was right. Jack sighed. Go report to Therath after arriving. Find Commander Salem. I will put you under his wing. Yes, Your Majesty, Kramer exclaimed. Kramer was just a special elite. His survival chance wasn't that good if a war broke out. So, Jack sent a message to Jeannie telling her to prepare another pill of growth for Kramer. You truly believe that is true? That good always wins? Freddy asked. He had come to Jack's side. After being trapped for so long by that devil woman. My thought on that expression is that it's nothing but horseshit. Does it matter? Jack replied. I don't think it matters whether it's true or not. Our past world is filled with truth and untruth. No one even knows what is true anymore. The world is full of angry, bitter, and pessimistic people. Everyone just complains and throws negative comments without concern. Most speak their minds as if they are experts and simply want to feel superior. Most of the time without even caring whether their words hurt others. Fewer and fewer people believe in goodness. Fewer believe that good will win. That good can win. Many even glorify Evoluero good will always win. It might be true. It might not. It doesn't matter. What matters is that I want to believe in goodness. I want to believe that it is true. I want to believe that good will always win. If it is not true, then I will fight to make it come true. That's the point. It's better than drowning myself in all those negative craps that filled so much of our old world. I believe if more people think positively rather than negatively, the better our world will be. We have been given a second chance in this new world. I want to fight so that this world is filled with more good than bad. Freddy was silent after hearing Jack's speech. He let out a long sigh and said, It seems like I have grown old. You have gone far from that little brat whom I sparred with. Let me know if you need aid in making that world come true. You have my fists. In that case, please come to our guild, Jack said to Freddy. Even better, join our guild. I believe my grandfather will be happy to see you again. Uncle Jet is also there. Jet? That clown is still alive? Sayuro, I don't like him. He always made fun of my height. Just because he has an abnormally tall frame, doesn't mean he can ridicule others who have normal height. I have a feeling you will have a good time when you see him, Jack said, smiling mischievously. Freddy didn't understand Jack's smile. He said, All right, I'll join your guild. Great. Jack sent him the guild invitation. Hearing about the guild, Stefan, Richard, and Naomi also came before him. They looked sheepish. Umayuro, I know we have fallen to level 1. Is it still okay for us to join your guild? Stefan asked. Jack smiled. Don't worry. We have something that will help you to level up to level 30 and get your elite class back in 2 days. But after that, you have to abide by guild requirements and do guild tasks. No problem, the three exclaimed simultaneously. So Jack sent them guild invitations as well. Their guild almost had full members, but they usually left around 10 to 20 empty spots just in case they met rare talents. Stefan and the others weren't rare talents, but Jack rarely invite members, so he figured he had the executive right to fill a few of these spots. Jack then saw Dina pull Tom over. Can we join as well? Dina asked. We're originally in another guild, but we checked just now we are no longer part of that guild. I guess they kick us out because we have been out of contact for so long. You don't want to return to that guild? Jack asked. Dina shook her head. Tom was just silent. All right, but same arrangements. Once you get to level 30, you have to do guild tasks, Jack said. Dina nodded. When Tom didn't respond, she forced him to nod as well. Do I also have to do guild tasks? Freddy asked. You don't need to, Uncle Freddy, Jack answered. I'll let everyone know you are a core member. You can just hang back at the headquarters with my Gramps. Uhayuro, why does he not need to do guild tasks while we Euro? Because I say so. Got a problem with that? Jack asked before Stefan finished his question. No problem. Everything's good, boss, Stefan answered. No problem with the guild tasks. We are already glad you can help us get back to the elite class in 2 days, Naomi stated. She then added, Is that truly possible? It is. You'll see once we are back in Themisphere. Ichimayuro, speaking of Wuxia. Jack muttered as he thought of something. He then called all the players who were still there. Everyone, listen Euro. After making sure he got everyone's attention, he said, There is an organization that can help you level up fast to level 30, so you can get your elite class back in 2 days. Have any one of you heard about the Growth Aid Agency? When everyone showed confused expressions, Jack said, That's okay. The fact is they can help you get to level 30 fast. All they need is 5 gold coins for each person. If any of you is interested, go to their F. You can either look for this organization yourself or find the info from my guild, Everlasting Heavenly Legends. When Jack expected their happy faces from hearing the news, the players instead looked at each other with blank faces. One of them finally said, Butayuro, we don't have anything anymore. We lost everything when we were killed in the game and revert to level 1. It will take us quite some time to gather 5 gold coins. You didn't store anything in the banks in the cities? Jack asked. Most of them shook their heads. I will pay for their fees, Talia announced. Their situation is my faction's fault. I will take responsibility. In addition, I will give everyone here a set of armor and weapon to get you back on your feet. Okay. Everyone can start lining up now. Talia again summoned her faction legacy. From that orb, she conjured 10 gold coins and a town return scroll. She then gave them to the nearest player. She then asked that player his preferred equipment. After getting an answer, she conjured a set of armor and weapon and gave them to that player. Seeing that, the other players started lining up. While the players were lining up, Jack saw a group of players who just stood there without responding. Jack came to them and was surprised to see they all had blank looks and empty eyes. It was as if they were sleep standing. After seeing these players, he had an inkling as to who these players were. Thella noticed Jack's attention. She told him, They were the players from the basement. You know about them as well? Jack asked. Thella nodded. Though we were imprisoned inside the Happy Dolls, our beings were tethered to Euphysine and her worlds, so we could roughly sense what was going on. I guess their minds broke after the repeated process of having their rebirth energies taken. They have become Vegetativia Euro, Freddy remarked. He and the others had followed over. All of them were glad they didn't share these players' fate, especially Sadie. She was about to give up if she had to go through another one of Euphysine's games. If she knew this was the fate that awaited her, she wouldn't dare do so. Some could still react, but they talked incoherently like people with brain damage. Can they recover Euro? Grace asked. Thella shook her head. We don't know. We are not experts regarding Outworlders. When you traveled to Themisphere, do you mind bringing them as well? Jack asked Thella. We can do that, Thella answered. Do you know something that can help them? Freddy asked. I don't know, but I know some people who might want to take care of these poor people. At least until they get better, Jack answered. Jack was thinking about Florence and her missing Outworlders Coordination Center. At this stage, fewer players were searching for their family members. Most could already travel to all 7 countries, and this ease of access allowed them to find the ones they were looking for. Considering that, the members of that organization should have the time to take care of these poor players. Also considering Florence's personality, she wouldn't just leave these vegetative players on their own. If she needed funds to care for these people, Jack won't mind giving her the coins she needed. Talia's people were ready to leave in less than 1 hour, but Talia was still distributing the coins and equipment to the players. There were hundreds of players, so it took some time. Jack and the others were still baffled that so many people were trapped inside Euphesine's dimension. Probably multiple games were carried out in a month instead of just one, with separate participants for each game. While waiting, Jack checked the other loots from Euphesine. He got the usual coins and mana cores. The coins were not much, but for mana cores he received quite a sum. Euphesine dropped 4,500 mana cores. This was the highest amount of mana cores that dropped from a single individual. Aside from coins and mana cores, several rare and super rare equipment also dropped. One of which was a unique grade magic staff. He gave the staff to Freddy. The others eyed him with jealousy but otherwise said nothing. The remaining loots were the most precious ones, among which were 2 gemstones, a technique book, and 2 items that he had previously gotten in the past. The 2 gemstones were a unique grade ember and a legendary grade emerald. He had no runestone with the earth element, so he stored the ember. As for the emerald, he took out his runestone of marching and feed the legendary grade emerald into it. The runestone only needed 4,900 elemental energies to upgrade to the next rank. The legendary grade emerald supplied 30,000 elemental energies. The runestone of marching upgraded into the unique grade. The runestone could now boost the marching speed to an additional 75%. If he focused on his willpower, he might even increase the boost to almost 100%. This effectively doubled the army's marching speed. As for the technique book, it contained the magic clone spell. Penuel said it was a spell learnable by Archmage. When Jack asked what this spell did, Penuel asked him to imagine Assassin's combat clone, except for Archmage. Furthermore, while combat clone couldn't use skill, magic clones could cast spells. So, I can have a copy that can fight and use skills? Jack asked Penuel. The spell creates a clone that can do everything you do. In theory, it should be able to use your other class's skills aside from your magic spells, but I can't say for sure. You will have to learn the spell and test it to be sure. I will let Jeannie copy it first before learning it, Jack said. After learning it, don't spend any skill points on it, Penuel informed. Why? Jack asked. This is one of those spells that can be fused, and you've already got the spell it can pair with. Really? Which spell? Body double, Penuel answered. Oh? What spell does it become after it is fused? What does it do? You will see when you fuse it, Penuel said. Come on, tell me. Once the spells are fused, I lose body double, right? I like that spell. If I'm to lose it, I need to know what I get in return. Fine. The fused spell is called double clone. Magic clone gives you 1 copy that can fight and use skills. Double clone gives you 2 clones that can fight and use skills. HM Jack gave the matter a thought. What are you considering? Having 2 clones that are as strong as you will give you a great edge in a battle. Your enemy already has a headache fighting one of you. They will be having a nightmare if they have to battle 3 of you. You got a point there, but body double is very effective for me if I want to scout, Jack said. The copies from that spell are illusions, so the enemies won't be able to block them. The clones from the fused spells can be physically blocked. You got your incorporeal state for scouting. Why do you still have to rely on body double? Penuel asked. I guess you are right. Okay. Let's fuse the spell once Genie copies it, Jack said. He then turned to the last two items. These two were items he had gotten before, but they were also the most valuable ones among the loot he had ever gotten. They were the talent pill and the upgrade cell. He needed a private place to use these two things, so he stored them first for now. What do you plan to use the upgrade cell on? Penuel asked. Do you have a suggestion? Jack asked back. I do. What do you suggest? Don't make me think hard and then tell me to use it on something else like the last time, Jack said. That's because you didn't think properly. Okay, I'll tell you. Use it on your container of souls. That is also my choice, Jack said. Really? Penuel asked. Well, you'll never really know now, won't you? Jack replied with a grin. Penuel could only roll her eyes. Are you going to let Genie copy those talent pill and upgrade cell as well? Penuel asked. How many mana cores do you think it will need? Jack asked back. I think it will be almost the same as the mana gathering stone, Penuel answered. 100,000 mana cores? Jack asked in surprise. But that item is a legendary grade. These two are unique grades. Penuel shrugged. These two are items that are very hard to appear, especially the upgrade cell. The talent pill might cost fewer mana cores, but I don't reckon it will be very far. You also mentioned talent pill doesn't always work, right? If the user doesn't have any talent from the start, this pill is wasted. That's right, Penuel confirmed. Jack sent a message to Genie. Do you have 100,000 mana cores? I got a lot of them from my visit to the Council of Elpo, but have not yet hit the 100,000 mark. Why do you ask? I have a lot of other things for other members to use these mana cores on. I can't just use them all for you unless you provide the mana cores yourself. Never mind then, Jack said and ended the message. Are you going to wait until Genie or you collected enough mana cores to copy those two items? Penuel asked. It already takes me ages to get half that amount for my pendant summon, which was gone after the summon. I'm now crawling back to that amount again. I can't wait that long, Jack answered. Fuck it. Once I find a quiet place, I will just use them. After more than an hour, Talia finally finished distributing her gifts to the players. Some of the players left using their newly gained town return scroll. They would later teleport to Therath to look for the Growth Aid Agency. As for those who hadn't traveled to Themisphere before, opted to stay with Talia and the others and travel together. With their current levels, they won't be able to make it alone to another country. Talia came to Jack and said, I haven't given you your additional reward. Oh? You got an additional reward for me? Jack asked. He thought the additional reward mentioned by the quest description was the chance to build a divine faction in his country or integrate Arian's group into his army. Maybe it's all of them. I can give you coins, mana cores, EXP pills, 1,000-year wines, or gemstones. Which one do you choose? Talia asked. Choose? I can't have all of them, Jack asked. He swung his head away as Penuel came slapping. Hee hee. I know you will do that. Jack laughed at the fairy. Talia chuckled. I can only give you one of them, Talia said. May I know the quantity of each? Jack asked. You may not, Talia answered. Ugh, fine. I choose mana cores then, Jack said. He was just lamenting about how slow it was to get mana cores just now. Talia nodded. She again summoned her faction legacy and extracted mana cores from it. As the mana cores flowed into Jack, he found that Talia had given him a total of 30,000 mana cores. Jack now had 44,500 mana cores inside his inventory. This number was still far to be enough to copy the talent pill and upgrade cell, though. So he stuck to his decision to not copy those two items. These mana cores were prioritized for his pendant summon. A bit more and he could summon the Archdemon Lord again. The Archdemon Lord was his current ace in the hole to get out of a tough situation. If he could summon it during the fight with Euphysine just now, the battle would have been much easier. We are ready to leave now. Will you be joining us? Talia asked. No, I will use my town return scroll and get back directly. Your new base will be waiting for you when you arrive. Jack answered. All right then. I hope I see you again, Talia said. You will, Jack replied. As Talia bid Jack farewell, Jack received notification that his influence skill had upgraded to advanced expert. Talia was now the leader of a divine faction. Being a friend to her helped boost Jack's standing. Talia organized her people. The players who wanted to join them in traveling to Themisphere followed after their group. Talia lent all of them rare-grade steeds so that they could have decent traveling speed. Stefan, Richard, Dina, and Tom followed Talia's group since they had never visited Themisphere in the past. Freddie and Naomi had. The two used their town return scroll to teleport to their hometown before teleporting to Themisphere. Jack informed them to look for Bowler once they arrived. I am going somewhere first, I will see you later, Grace said to Jack. Oh? Where are you going? Greed's place is close to here. I promise him I will visit once in a while, Grace answered. Hearing that, Jack pondered for a bit. He then said, I'll follow you. Are you sure? I thought you need to go back to the palace after being absent for so long, Grace asked. It was indeed so. Tomorrow would be the day when he could do another mass drill and call to arms, but he was also very eager to get the gold dragon wing Penuel mentioned. He had seen Master with his demonic wings and Grace with her wings tool. They could fly anytime they wanted, while he was still limited by his beast form and source spell's duration. He remembered inside Greed's sanctum. The aerial combat portal awarded him 390 draconic essences each round. He only needed another 3,050 draconic essences to reach bloodline level 9. He only needed to do 8 runs inside that portal, then he was good. Even if he could only do it once a day, this would only take 8 days. If he went to the underworld, it would take him roughly 10 days to get that amount. Additionally, he couldn't go back to the spot he had visited before, so it might take even longer than that. The kingdom is in good hands, John should manage. I will inform him of my plan, Jack said. John had been sending messages to Jack, but Jack didn't find John's tone to be urgent. Hence he hadn't contacted John back until now. Where have you been all this time? Are you all right? John asked. I am touched by your concern, Jack replied. I actually hoped you are not all right, so I can promote myself to be the new king, John said. Are you coming back today? I have something I want to discuss with you. What is it? Is it urgent? It might. Can't be sure. There has been some unrest in some towns near our border with VRMMO. What? What kind of unrest? There have been reports of some of our citizens clashing with the orcs there, starting around a week ago, not long after we lost contact with you. How? Haven't we already implemented regulations to bring the two races together? Like open border, trade exchanges, and dignitary visits, especially between the settlements at the border. That's true. That's why I have increased the security at those settlements. I have a feeling this is not an accidental occurrence. You think it's intentional? Jack asked. I can't say for sure. I will need more information, John replied. Send our investigative teams to those border towns. This incident takes priority. I don't have many affairs to be investigated at the moment. Anyway. All right, I will organize them. So, you are not returning today. No extremely urgent stuff, right? I want to go somewhere else first. I will return in 8 days. Wow, that long? You should just give your crown to me, John said. Bye, Jack replied and ended the chat. Something happens? Grace asked. She saw Jack's face turning tense for a bit while he was messaging. Jack told her what John had told him. Shouldn't you return? You have done so much to bring peace between Themisphere and VRMMO. It will be a pity if this peace is ruined. I can't do anything even if I return. I have to wait until our investigative teams get more information, Jack replied. But I will check the situation on the other side. Jack contacted For Winds. For Winds confirmed there were disturbing reports on the border towns. Human nobles had been throwing complaints about illegal orc activities near the border, but the orc chiefs assured that there was no such activity. The orc chiefs had instead grown irritated because they felt accused. The old enmity between the two races had started to resurface. For Winds and Grand Chief Kabaka were trying their best to defuse the situation, but if the matter escalated, They were afraid things might go out of hand. Jack told Four Winds to continue calming those chiefs. He told Four Winds he had sent some teams to investigate the truth of the incidents. He believed things should be brought to light soon. "You sure you don't want to go back?" Grace asked. Jack shook his head. "I can go back immediately if something bad happens," Jack replied. But then he added, "Wait, that greed fellow won't lock me up again, will he?" Grace smiled. "Don't worry. Let's go." She summoned her unicorn. Jack summoned Pandora. Talia and the others had left. The mansion and the garden around it were now just a ruin. Probably the world system would have monsters spawn at this place and turn it into a new wilderness zone. Jack gave the place another look before he left with Grace. In the Sylvan region, where the mist that imprisoned people in Euphesine's dimension used to be located, an army had gathered. Master was leading the army. He found that there was nothing there. The mist was gone. There was no mansion, no base of the Council of Charites. How do they escape? Motherboard, who was riding beside Master, asked. "There should be at least a building here, shouldn't it?" It seems the power source of that faction's base is not yet depleted," Master answered, but he was no less surprised. Even if the power source was still available, he expected Jack or the natives who survived would at least stay for half a day before deciding to leave. He never expected them to leave this place so early. "Never mind. Let's return," Master commanded. At the same time, he sent a message to Linda, who was in Liguritum Palace. "How is our preparation? Our main troops still need around 1 week before we can begin our campaign. As for the distraction, I made the preparation a week ago. They are in hiding but will be good to go at any time, but we should wait until our army moves before using them." "What about the negotiation with that person?" "He had agreed. He will act as requested." "Good. Then hasten the preparation so we can move earlier." Grace was right. Their previous location was indeed close to where the entrance to Greed's sanctum was located. The two arrived in just a couple of hours. After arriving, Jack found the place to be slightly different. "I remember the last time this place was more barren and the trees were all dead," Jack remarked. "Yeah. I told God Greed the place is too bleak, that he should redecorate. It seems he follows my advice," Grace said. "My lady, you have my admiration," Jack said. Penuel agreed by nodding heavily. Grace came to the largest tree. He touched her hand on its bark and a portal opened. "Wow! So we no longer need to busy ourselves with the hidden rune diagram to enter?" Jack asked. "He set the portal so I can come in at any time," Grace answered. "Wow! VIP treatment. Again, my lady, you have my respect." Jack made an exaggerated bow. "Only respect?" Grace asked with a teasing voice. "Huh." Jack didn't quite understand. Grace giggled and entered the portal. Penuel slapped Jack's still confused head. "She has already entered," she said. "Oh, need to hurry." He is not sure if she could call Grace to open the portal for him if it was closed. He jumped into the still open portal. Arriving inside, he came to the familiar underground cavern. Grace was waiting for him. "Come," she said, and the two went in deeper. They arrived at Greed's hut. Grace called to announce their arrival before she walked in. Jack followed after her. The hut wasn't big. Took just one glance to see that it was empty. "He is not home?" Jack asked. "Ichimuro, I wonder where he has gone to." "He rarely leaves this place," Grace said. "Well, even God gets bored. He is probably out there fooling around a Euro." "Boo!" A voice came from right beside Jack. Jack turned and saw Greed's face close up. "Why Euro?" Jack was startled and fell on his butt. "God Greed." Grace bowed to Greed. "Euro, it's good that you come to visit. But why bring this wanker here?" Greed asked Jack. "The heck? Where did he learn that word?" Jack thought. "From one of her stories," Greed answered. This caused Jack to remember that Greed installed a mind-reading rune diagram in this hut. Jack quickly guarded his thoughts. He wished to use the dragon flight portal to gather draconic essences, Grace informed. "He did express that kind of interest when he was here, but why should I let him use it?" Greed said while giving Jack an intense stare. Can you let him? We will be truly grateful, Grace pleaded. €1 okay? Just for you, kiddo, Greed said. €1 kiddo? Jack stammered. He likes the word. It's also from one of my stories, Grace explained. Okay. Get out. It's time for storytelling time. I don't want you here to ruin it, Greed said to Jack, to which Jack gladly complied. He got up and ran to the exit. He stopped after thinking of something. €1 after I used the Dragonflight portal. Can I use the Endless Wave portal? Jack asked. Aren't you here only for the draconic essences? Greed asked in return. Yeah, but since I may only use it one time, I want to spend the remaining time using €1. When did I say you may only use it one time? Greed cut Jack's speech. €1 now Jack was lost. Do you mean I can use the Dragonflight portal repeatedly within one day? He asked. Knock yourself out, Greed said and closed the door in Jack's face. Yeah. Jack jumped in celebration and headed to where the portals were. He suddenly stopped midway, looked back at the hut, and muttered, €1 he is not doing anything indecent to Grace, is he? Penuel slapped his head. Do you think gods are like that? Don't lump the divines with lowly beings such as you. Geez. Why is it you who gets upset? Jack said. Inside the room, Greed saw Jack resume going to the portals. Thank you, God Greed. It's very generous of you to let him use the Dragonflight portal without limit, Grace said. Even when she was here, Greed told her that she could only use that portal once. But Grace did not need draconic essence, so that was not a big deal for her. Well, Hope did entrust the 5 of you with his hope, especially that kid. I've got to honor his wish, Greed said. I didn't know you have such a feeling about God Hope. Oh, make no mistake. I hated the guy. So self-righteous and so uptight, but you gotta hand it to him. That guy has principles and I respect that. I just hope that kid doesn't let him down. He won't, Grace said. You truly like that kid, huh? Greed asked. Grace didn't answer. Her face went red. Forget about him. It's storytelling time, Greed declared. No problem, Grace chuckled. But after this, may I also use your portals? You too, huh? Fine, fine. I guess I am getting soft in my old age. You still look young, Grace chuckled. This is just the form I choose to use at the moment. I can look different if I want. Enough chatter. Tell me a story. Since Jack could use the Dragonflight portal without limit, he just repeatedly used that same portal, netting 390 draconic essences with each entry. He spent the remaining of the day and well into the night using the portal. It was past midnight when he came out of his 4th run. He had no intention of stopping, so Grace stopped him. Rest, she said. €2 I can still go on, Jack said. If he reached bloodline level 9 by tomorrow morning, he could spend his time doing other things. He only needed 4 more entries. Portal close, Greed exclaimed. Jack saw the entrance to the Dragonflight portal turn dim. Grace shot Greed a grateful glance. Jack's shoulders slumped. He had no choice but to rest now. He sat on the prepared bed. Grace was laying on another bed next to him. She was already very sleepy. She stayed up only to make sure that Jack rest. Now that Jack had stopped his grinding, she could sleep. Jack wasn't tired yet, though. After making sure Grace had slept, he took out the 2 loot from Euphysine, the talent pill and the upgrade cell. He first picked up the talent pill. In the past, he had tried multi-thinking when using the pill to gain his 100 synchronous thoughts. As long as he had a hidden talent, he could bring it to the surface using this pill. He was now thinking about what he should focus on to give this pill the best success chance. What talent do you think you still have? Penuel asked. Jack was also rather confused. He looked at Grace, who had slept. He didn't want to wake her up just to consult with her. You have been with me for quite some time, haven't you? What talents do you think I have? Jack asked Penuel. €1 let me think. Your simple-mindedness. Your ability to ignore important issues when it is not urgent. Your denseness in understanding romantic gestures. €1 Jack rolled her eyes. Forget it. It's pointless asking you. Jack stood up and brandished his 2 swords. When Penuel was confused about what he was trying to do, he started playing with his sword. "Oh? Are you trying to bring up a talent that is related to your martial art?" Penuel guessed. Jack nodded. "Yeah. I might not be the best martial artist, but I believe I have the talent for it. I only started late." Jack continued practicing his sword art. He also meditated in the sword's heart while doing it and incorporated mana manipulation into his every slash. When he felt like he was ready, he stored one of the swords and held the talent pill in his hand. He then used it. The talent pill disappeared. "Huhayuro! What? Do you fail?" Penuel asked. Jack sent her an annoyed stare. "You have that little confidence in me?" Jack asked. "I received a talent, but it's not what I expected. Go and see for yourself." Penuel checked Jack's status page then. A new talent had popped up in his talent list. Mana Affinity. Talent. Improves users' connection with mana. It was just a simple description. Penuel asked Jack, "Do you feel any different?" "Yahayuro, it feels weird," Jack said. "It's as if I'm seeing everything for the first time. It's hard to describe. I can sense your feeling, but I can't quite understand it," Penuel said. Jack closed his eyes and focused on his mana sense. He could now make out every detail in his vicinity even when his eyes were closed. His mana sense had become so sharp, he might as well have a 360-degree perception even without using his eyes. Not only that, his mana sense range had doubled. He could now detect things from 30 meters away. He tried to accumulate mana in his hand. It was as easy as breathing. He didn't even need to concentrate. It just happened with a thought. He used Flame Strike with mana manipulation. The flame from his Stormbreaker burst ragingly as he slashed. The flame burst made it seem as if a completely different skill. He was sure if an opponent was hit by this version of Flame Strike, the effect would be completely different than before. "It's so easy now. Its power has also increased," Jack uttered. "This is better than I hoped for. Well, I can sense a little mana as well. That slash just now sure felt intense," Penuel remarked. "I wonder if you are at Doman's level now." "Hehe. Let's put it to the test when we meet that geezer," Jack said with a grin. "Let's deal with the next one," Jack exclaimed and came to the upgrade cell he had taken out earlier. He brought his container of souls out. There were 1,400,000 souls inside. 80% of it was courtesy of Euphysine. The rest were from the monsters he and Grace hunted during their 2 weeks' journey to the Council of Charites. The players or the night hunters that were killed during Euphysine's game didn't award any souls. Perhaps because the rule of that dimension made sure their souls were recycled back to Euphysine. He didn't use the souls inside the container yet. He wanted to first see what effect the container has after being upgraded. Jack brought the containers of souls close to the upgrade cell. An interface appeared asking if he wanted to upgrade the containers of souls. Jack clicked the accept button. After a series of animations, the upgrade cell disappeared, leaving only the containers of souls. It doesn't look different," Jack said. When he upgraded his transformation box, it transformed into the transformation prism. This time, the upgraded item retained its original look. But then again, upon closer inspection, Jack saw many new detailed inscriptions along the container's surfaces. Jack used his inspect skill then. Container of Souls, legendary artifact. Collect souls of slain people or monsters. Uses 1,000 souls to increase the user's basic skill level. Uses 10,000 souls to increase the user's advanced skill level. Uses 100,000 souls to increase the user's elite skill level. Uses 300,000 souls to upgrade a skill star. Only a max-leveled skill can be star upgraded using these souls. Links to Storm Wind. Souls collected 1,400,000. The container's functions were mostly still the same. It just added one more function, upgrading the stars of a skill. But even if it was only this one addition, it brought Jack much excitement. "Yes!" he exclaimed. He hurriedly closed his mouth and looked at Grace, afraid that his yell might wake her up. She was still fast asleep. She must be very tired. "Yes," Jack said again, but softly this time. The star upgrades were the hardest to increase. It took lots of repetition to upgrade a skill by 1 star. There was no shortcut but to spend the time to use the skills repeatedly. Now, he had the means for that shortcut. Cool, right? Penuel asked. You could have just told me from the start what it will upgrade to, Jack said to her. But you won't feel as happy as you are now when you find out about it yourself, would you? You got a point there, Jack said. He stored the container of souls. He would use the souls later. He had spoken with Jeannie through messages. Jeannie had copied the technique books he last gave her. He just needed to meet her to get those books. He would use the souls then. Ready to sleep now? Penuel asked. One last thing, Jack said and took out the runestone of spellcasting. How many mana cores do you think are needed to copy this runestone? MMEuro, I say it is no fewer than the mana gathering stone, if not more, Penuel answered. Well, let's just fuse with it then, Jack said. While fusing with the runestone of spellcasting, Jack was taken into a world of flying stones and quicksand. He was assaulted by a hail of stones. He tried to use his hands as if swords to repel the stones, but there were just too many stones. The more he repelled, the more stones were conjured. It was as if he had to be hit by the stones. There was no way around it. After getting stoned for a torturingly long duration, he suddenly felt himself sinking. He looked down and saw his feet were ankle-deep in the sand. He tried to pull himself out but couldn't. He sank fast. Before he knew it, he was completely submerged. He couldn't breathe. He couldn't move, which was weird because even underwater, he could breathe just fine in this game world. What he felt now was what was called getting suffocated in his old world, and it was excruciating. It was worse here because he couldn't die. Even under the sand, the text box asking him to quit was magically visible, tempting him to click the quit button. Jack forced himself to not look at it. He then found himself falling out of the sand and back to solid ground. Then the stoning came again, continued to repeat countless times. He didn't know how long it was. When it was finally over, he found himself sprawling on the ground. Penuel was looking at him with a smile. You succeeded, she said. Jack sat up and wiped the sweat on his head. I don't think I will ever get used to this. The one who designed this runecrafting process was truly sick people. Now that he had fused with the runestone of spellcasting, he could summon it at will. It was now floating beside him with a yellowish glow. Runestone of spellcasting, unique runestone. Increase spell's power by approximate 30%. Elemental energy required for upgrade 0/100 000. Spell power euro. Does this indicate only spell damage? Jack asked. No. It will increase your overall spell power, Penuel explained. Spells that have probability will have their probability increased by 30%. Spells that increase attributes will increase 30% more. Jack cast Time Realm. The max level Time Realm had an AoE of a 50-meter radius, but the barrier that marked the spell's edge was now farther than 50 meters from him. He focused his willpower on the runestone beside him and saw the spell's edge move further away. He did not doubt that the enemies within the spell would also become slower than usual. He checked the spell's duration. It remained normal. The runestone's power didn't affect the spell's duration. Jack then cast Heightened State, a magician's basic spell that increased mana regeneration and increased skill cooldown. He saw his mana recover faster than the usual effect of the spell. He then cast Illumination. The light ball conjured was brighter than normal. He tested injecting as much willpower as he could while reading the description from his runestone. At his runecrafting level, he could push the increase to almost 50%. This meant at his best performance, he could increase his spell's power by half. He then used the unique Great Amber he had gotten from Euphysine to feed his runestone of spellcasting. The gemstone supplied 2,500 elemental energies to the runestone. You haven't slept a euro? Jack heard Grace's voice from behind. He turned and saw Grace was half awake and staring at him with a sleepy face. I'm just about to. Jack hurriedly stored everything back and canceled all his still ongoing spells. He went to the makeshift bed that had been prepared. Grace was staring at him until he closed his eyes, making sure he truly slept this time. The next morning, he overslept because he was too tired. Grace intentionally didn't wake him up to let him rest. She also told Penuel to let Jack sleep. When he woke up, he received the notification of some calls. He thought at first it was from John due to some emergency. It was instead from his grandfather. He contacted Doman back. "Gramps, you finally managed to learn how to use this messaging system," Jack greeted. "Yeah. Jet taught me. Feels weird, though. It's like using a handphone without a handphone. I'm not sure I will get used to this. Anyway, when will you be coming back?" "Jeannie said you are done with whatever it is you left to do. I may probably return later today, but I will have to deal with kingdom matters first." "Why? Do you miss your grandson?" "A little. I have someone I want you to meet," Doman said. "Is it Freddy?" "It is I who sent him there," Jack said. "No, not Freddy. Someone else. I've made an appointment with this person to teach you. Don't take too long. Come back to the guild headquarters once you are done. She will only be here until next week. I'm not sure if I can persuade her to come again the next time. So, you better not waste this chance." "Teach? She? What is this about?" "Just come back as soon as possible. Doman out." "Doman out? Do you think this is walkie-talkie?" Jack thought. He was curious about the person Doman wanted him to meet and what this person was going to teach him. Knowing his grandfather, it would be something related to martial arts. But this in turn piqued his curiosity even more. His grandfather was the best martial artist he knew. What could this other person teach him that his grandfather couldn't? He threw all this to the back of his mind. First thing first, he had to get the gold dragon wings today. He got ready and went to the dragon flight portal. He didn't see Grace or Greed. Grace was probably telling Greed another tale in his hut. He couldn't tell the time since he was underground, but he estimated it was almost noon already. Since he planned to go back to Therath today, he didn't waste any more time and entered the portal. Half a day passed. Jack finally completed the 4th run of the day. The draconic essences he had collected finally pushed his divine gold dragon bloodline to level 9. His attributes, health point, stamina, and mana point now received a 52% boost from the bloodline. He also received a new skill. He activated the skill and a pair of huge dragon wings of golden color spread from his back. "You did it!" Grace was standing in front of the dragon flight portal. "Very cool wing," she added. "Yeah. It has no duration or cooldown. I can use it anytime I want," Jack said. "I no longer need my source spell." "These wings can suffer damage," Penuel informed. "They have a separate health point equal to 100% of your health point. If their health point is depleted, they will be broken. Certain skills that inflict wounds, like your Brave Slash, might break them even if they still have health point left. Don't worry, though. Given time, the wings will fix themselves. You just can't use them to fly in the meantime." "I see. This means I can also use them as shields in a pinch. They can be a barrier with equal health point as I." "I'm glad for you," Grace said. "Now that I've achieved my objective, I will go back now. My Gramps said there is a person he wants me to meet. Do you want to go back with me, or do you want to stay?" "I still have something to do. I will return to Therath tomorrow morning." "I will find you once I do," Grace answered. "Okay, I will go back first," Jack said. He heard Greed's voice then, who had appeared right next to him. "Do you think this is a place you can come and go as you wish, punk?" Jack turned to him with a surprised expression. "Is this God trapping him here again like the last time?" Greed laughed. "Look at your face. I'm just messing with you. Haha, where do you say you want to go back to again? Therath, is it?" "Euro, yes, euro," Jack stammered. "Bye," Greed said and snapped his finger. Jack vanished in a flash of light. Before he knew it, Jack found himself in the middle of Therath's city square. The pedestrians who were walking around the place were startled when Jack just appeared out of nowhere. This was not the portal zone after all. It was not common for people to teleport into the city at this square. Some then noticed Jack's attire and realized he was their king. They quickly greeted Jack with a bow. Jack was still stunned by the sudden displacement. He finally gathered himself after seeing people bowing to him. He nodded at them before summoning Pandora and made his way to the palace. It was almost evening by now. Damn that greed. Couldn't he have given me a warning first? He complained in his mind. He went to the throne room directly after arriving in the capital. John, Thurgood, and Isabel were there. Ahayuro, your majesty, you've finally graced us with your presence, John greeted. Thurgood and Isabel greeted Jack with a bow. You should learn from them how to properly greet your sovereign, Jack said to John as he took his seat on the throne. I don't think I will, John replied. Anything to report? How's it going with that incident at VRMMO's border? Jack asked as he opened the Monarch system and studied his kingdom's stats. The investigative teams just teleported to those border towns yesterday. They are still investigating. We will hear from them once they find anything, John reported. I also send some of the teams to the towns on VRMMO's side. They will coordinate with one another to match their findings. Armstrong has issued an order to tighten the patrols around the border zone, Isabel reported. I've also sent scouts around the border zone to see if there is any suspicious activity from the orcs. All right, but tell them to remain courteous to any passing orcs. Do not let our hard-earned peace be ruined just because of paranoia, Jack said. Due to the same incident, some nobles from those towns have been waiting for your majesty's return, Thurgood informed. They insist on an audience with your majesty before they are willing to return to their towns. We will deal with them tomorrow morning. Let's resume building our military, Jack said. After building the World Commerce Center, the kingdom's coin reserve started to build up again. He didn't need to be afraid of continuing the heavy expenditure on their army. Their national treasure, the boundless cash, also provided gold coins, mana, and ruling powers. The coin income from the boundless cash was nothing if compared to the World Commerce Center. But it was the ruling powers income that was the treasure's main benefit. Penuel informed Jack that out of the 7 countries' national treasures, only the boundless cash awarded ruling powers. Added to the monthly ruling power income he received from his sovereign level, his stock of ruling power was 161. He spent 80 of those ruling powers for the usual 2 monarch powers, the call to arms and mass drill. He then performed manual drafting on all the settlements starting from the town level and above. With a megalopolis and with some settlements that had increased their levels, this round of drafting gave him 478,000 recruits. Their army within the country now totaled 3,170,000 troops. This was around the number Themisphere had before the VRMMO invasion. They had returned to their original strength, but many of the recruits still needed training before they could fight. Jack used the manual training function and sent all those recruits to the barracks for training. He then checked the recruits' data to see if there was any mythical grade recruit. He had again used his runestone of luck when he used call to arms. Since the number of recruits had increased, the probability should increase as well. There was one, a man named Stuart. A mythical grade was a rare commodity in an army. Jack instructed Isabel to tell Armstrong to give the Stuart and Anna from last month's recruit special attention. If they could quickly develop these 2 talents, it would be a great help for their army. He also told Isabel to give Kramer, who would be coming in 1 or 2 weeks, the same attention. He told her Kramer was his friend. Now, he had to prepare the Council of Charites' new base, so that Talia and the others had a place to stay when they arrived. Jack had thought about which city to put the Council of Charites' new base during his time in Greed's Sanctum. Since Talia and the others had expressed concern about their comfort among the hustle and bustle of a city, he decided to build their base in a city with the fewest population. That would be Themonium, a city that had recently upgraded into a metropolis. Jack opened Themonium's building list and scrolled down to the bottommost section. A new wonder building was available there, Joy Recreational Hub. For people who said they were not used to the hubbub of a settlement, their base sure sounded like a place for many people to hang out. Huayuro, you never cease to amaze me, expert, John remarked. From its name, I dare to guess this wonder had something to do with the divine faction you visited. Jeannie also went to a divine faction, but all she got was a companion and a bunch of mana cores. She did. Jack had heard about the mana cores, but the companion was news to him. Yeah. Care to tell me what happened in the Council of Charites? You were out of contact for more than a week. Well, you are not going to believe this. Euro, on second thought, forget it. I'm not interested. Check out that new wonder building. I want to see its effect, John said, cutting Jack's words mercilessly. I almost forgot how charming you are, Jack said sarcastically. He then clicked on Joy's Recreational Hub. Joy's Recreational Hub, Wonder Building, houses the Council of Charites. Not part of the kingdom's army, can't be promoted into official positions, can't be commanded, but will actively defend the city if the city is attacked. Increases the overall happiness in the country. The effect is doubled in the city this wonder is built. Allows 1% of the kingdom army to register to become the special unit. Wonder Wizard. Army morale always starts at 100 during the start of a war campaign. Morale deteriorates 50% slower. Gained morale is 50% more. Construction cost, 50,000 gold coins, 60,000 mana, 10,000 lumbers, 2,000 minerals. Construction time, 50 days. Upkeep, 7,000 gold coins / month, 12,000 mana / month. Requirement, receives an official request to build the hub from the Council of Charites. Sweet euro, John remarked. All of them are good effect. The morale, new special unit, and additional garrison to defend the city, but I am most happy about the happiness effect. Do you know that the happiness stat of a settlement is closely related to a settlement's population growth? The higher it is, the faster the city's population increased. How do you know? Jack asked. Duh. Hope's knowledge, remember? John mocked. Then why do you not already know this wonder building's effect from the start? It's Hope's knowledge, not Penuel's knowledge. Hope knows nothing about the effect when other divine factions join a kingdom. Speaking of which, once you build this wonder building, I think there should be an additional effect. What's that? Jack asked. Try to build one first, John said. He then said to Penuel, I'm surprised you didn't tell him about it when he built the Sanctuary of Courage. Are you talking about the Brave Academy? Penuel asked. Aha! John nodded. Euro, I forgot, Penuel answered. John was speechless hearing the fairy's reply. What Brave Academy? Jack asked. Just build this one first. John instructed. Jack complied. There was coincidentally an empty building slot. John was still pondering what to build on this slot when Jack came in. Afterward, Jack used 5 ruling powers to complete the construction process. He then sent a message to Stefan, who was traveling with Talia, to ask him to inform her about the city where her new base was located. How many ruling powers do you still have? I have a bunch of things I want to hasten, John said. Of course you do, Jack said. First, check the building list. There should be a new special building that can be built, Penuel said. She then said to John, I don't forget this time. Jack scrolled up to the list of where the special buildings were located. Which one? Jack asked. There were a bunch of special buildings. Jack never paid attention to them. He let John work on them. That one, Penuel pointed. World Game Stadium? Jack read the description. It's not a wonder building, but it might as well be. It requires a specific condition before it can be built, which was the settlement has to have Joy's Recreational Hub built, and it can only be built beside this wonder building. The same thing as the Brave Academy, John said. When Jack turned to him, John said, I already start the construction of the Brave Academy when I happen to see it on the list, but it still requires around 30 days to complete. You can use your ruling powers to complete the construction. Let's complete this one first, Jack said, and put the World Game Stadium into construction. World Game Stadium, special building. Natives who use this stadium have a tiny chance to have their max health point increased permanently. Improves the opinion of foreign natives on the country this special building is built. Improves the quality of the natives within the country. Improves the probability of better grade recruits appearing during a military draft. Construction cost, 10,000 gold coins, 15,000 mana, 5,000 lumbers, 3,000 minerals. Construction time, 40 days. Upkeep, 2,000 gold / month, 3,000 mana / month. Requirement. Has built Joy's Recreational Hub, has to be built next to Joy's Recreational Hub. He then used 4 ruling powers to complete it at once. This stadium is heaven-sent. It should help lower the tension between us and VRMMO by a bit, John said. This also helped us get better recruits the next time we draft, Jack said, then added, maybe I should have built this first before we did the call to arms and the military drafts. Maybe you should, John agreed. Next time, leave the drafting for the last. That brave academy you mentioned. It should be in Theramdel, isn't it? Jack asked. Yes, John confirmed. Jack changed the screen to Theramdel and looked at the construction slots in progress. Brave Academy was in one of those slots. Brave Academy, special building. Training space, 10,000 units. Doubled the unit's training growth rate and skill/spell learning probability within the city. Units who are training within this academy have their growth rate and probability tripled. Construction cost, 30,000 gold coins, 5,000 mana, 1,000 lumbers, 6,000 minerals. Construction time, 40 days. Upkeep 3,000 gold/month, 1,000 mana/month. Requirement. Has built Sanctuary of Courage, has to be built next to Sanctuary of Courage. This Brave Academy was similar to the War Academy, only better. It still had 29 days till its completion. Jack used 3 ruling powers to complete it. He then called Duchess Isabel about our 2 mythical recruits and my friend Kramer. Please make sure they have the training slots in this Brave Academy. I will let Armstrong know, Isabel replied. What do you want me to use my ruling powers on? Jack asked John. He had 69 ruling powers left. He was planning to use 10 ruling powers to increase the population of Theenward. It was the second most populated settlement after Therath. If it could be upgraded into a second megalopolis, it would improve Themisphere's growth even further. But that would take some time. At the moment, Theenward's population was 7 million. Even by using his monarch power, it would still be long before Theenward could hit 10 million population. He also wanted to extend the imposed blockade on World Ruler and World Maker. That required 40 ruling powers. If he followed his routine, he would only have 19 ruling powers left. He wanted to listen to John's needs first to determine which took priority. On research, John replied. While Jack switched to the research screen, John explained, during your absence, Armstrong and I arranged a joint training with Herderon's army at Fort Aldrich. How are they? Have they got used to the fort? Jack asked. Yes. They had even built a new settlement around the fort with the citizens they brought from Hydrorond. If you go to the settlement list, you will see we have 1 new city. We did? Jack asked. He went back to the city overview again and looked at the list of settlements. Allsvelg. Jack read the name of the new settlement. Aldrich uses her name and her ancestor's name, Earsfleg, the one who founded the Hydron Dominion. She said it is so she remembers that their home is elsewhere, Isabel explained. The settlement is already the level of a city. It must be because of the population she brought from Lefkazelis, Jack remarked. It is counted as an autonomous area, so we can't do anything to that city, John said. Your call to arms and mass drill just now also didn't affect that city. We have been supplying provisions to them the first few weeks, but the Draconians were a prideful race, Thurgood said. They worked hard on the surrounding lands. They should be able to sustain themselves in 1 or 2 more weeks. By then, they would be able to support themselves without us sending them provisions. That's good to hear, Jack said. Some nobles of the country expressed objection when they found out about Jack giving the Draconians a piece of the country. Asking their settlements to send provisions to these Draconians further caused displeasure among these nobles. Jack had been ignoring the protest. He was lucky Serenity's blessing was in effect in the country, thus reducing the chance of unrest caused by these nobles. Now, with the addition of Joy's recreational hub, the discontent should be driven down further. Still, if Aldrith's people could become self-sufficient, that would greatly help him in dealing with those protesting nobles. Can you please go back to the research screen, please? John said. It's you who brought up the Hydron's refugees, Jack said. What does that have to do with the research? As I said, we have been doing joint training with them. As a result, new tech has appeared in the military path, John answered. Really? I don't know such a thing is possible, Penuel said in surprise. Despite Hope's knowledge in me, I'm also surprised when it happened, John said. I think this is the world system adapting by itself. The screen was now showing the research overview. Jack entered the military path. Aside from the usual tech tree, 2 new techs were floating by themselves without being attached to any of the branches from the tech tree. The first one was titled Coordinated Strike, Hydron, rank 1. When Jack clicked on this tech. It said that after researching this tech, the enemy army who received a joint attack from Themisphere and Hydron's armies would receive a debuff of -5% to their defenses and resistances. This tech was in the process of being researched. It still had 28 days to go. The second one was titled Martial Art Drills. This tech improved the martial arts learning speed of native soldiers. This tech required 80 days of research time. This also popped up by itself? Jack asked. Yeah, John replied. After the efficiency of martial arts was shown during our battle in Hydron, words of mouth had spread quite quickly among the army. Emrys was especially vocal after witnessing it firsthand. He requested Armstrong to send instructors to his camp. The other Lord Marshals followed his lead, and thus the practice spread throughout the entire army in this country. This he expected Coordinated Strike, Hydron, rank 2 to appear, but it didn't. Tech appeared then. Jack nodded. He used 11 ruling powers to learn both of these techs. He expected Coordinated Strike, Hydron, rank 2 to appear, but it didn't. Perhaps we need to arrange more joint training with the Hydron army for the rank 2 to appear, John guessed. I was wondering, if this tech can appear, then there should be similar techs for cooperating with the other countries, Jack said. We should also arrange a joint training with the VRMMO army. With the current political climate, I don't think this is the best time to bring that up, John said. We need to solve the issues at the border first. You are right, Jack said. Since he still had ruling powers to spare, he went with his plan and increased the population in Theenward as well as extending the blockade on World Ruler and World Maker. He had only 8 ruling powers left afterward. Thank you, everyone. It's late already. Let's rest, Jack said to everyone. To Thurgood, he added, we will talk about other kingdom issues tomorrow, as well as meet those nobles you mentioned. Yes, your majesty, Thurgood replied and left with Isabel. You are not going to rest yet? John asked Jack when he saw Jack was still sitting on the throne. In a minute after I do mass pay to increase the officer's loyalty, Jack answered. Before you go, what is your cloak's grade? Rare grade. I suppose you have something to offer me since you asked. Yeah, take this. This cloak is a super rare grade. It helped me a lot of times in the past. Jack handed John his cloak of shadow. Well, I do wonder where your usual cloak has gone when you come in with that eye-catching fiery cloak, John said. Hee. Jack changed the element of his cloak into lightning, and the cloak flapped behind him while crackling with electricity. Show off, John said as he received the cloak of shadow. Neat cloak, John said after wearing it. All his information was now hidden. Its shadow melding ability is a nice combination with my God Eye monocle. This cloak is tailored for me indeed. Tailored your ass. I used to have both, remember? Jack said. He wondered if he would miss the information concealing ability of that cloak. But with how famous he was now, everyone would recognize him even if they couldn't inspect him. The next morning when he walked to the throne room, he saw John arguing with Thurgood at the entrance. Grace was also there. Jack. Grace came to him. I have something for you. Grace handed Jack 5,500 mana cores. Where do you get this? Jack asked in surprise. From one of Greed's portals, of course. I've been permitted to use the mana core portal continuously. The last time he let me use it only once a day. I used that portal multiple times these last 2 days to get this amount. I know you still lack this number to summon the Archdemon Lord. Jack didn't know what to say. He now knew Grace had stayed back another night so that she could get these mana cores. He was very touched by her attention. In the end, he could simply say, Thank you. See that? This is your future queen. How dare you bar her entry to the throne hall? John said to Thurgood. What the hell are you two arguing about? Jack finally addressed the two. John answered, Grace came to look for you. I invited her into the throne room. Good Thurgood here said non-official personnel is not permitted into the throne room. We have a safety protocol in place for a reason, Thurgood argued, then added, it is bad enough we have one old draconian going around the palace like he owns the place. Speaking of that old draconian, have you seen him? Jack asked while he grabbed Grace's hand and brought her into the throne room. I haven't seen him these past few days. Thurgood wanted to say something about Jack taking Grace into the throne room but was unable to. John walked past him with a smug grin. In the end, he could only shake his head and followed them in. Wow! This throne room is very impressive, Grace uttered. Right, you weren't here during my coronation. You can come here any time you like, Jack said, which made John throw Thurgood another smug grin. Jack spent an hour discussing with John the direction they were taking for the monarch system. During that hour, John also briefed Jack in more detail about the incidents at the border. After Themipshire and VRMMO applied open border, humans and orcs were freed to cross over and visit the other countries' settlements, provided they were able to cross the hostile zone. Hence, nowadays at the border settlements it was common to see both races mingling together. But during the past week, theft and vandalism had happened inside Themisphere's border towns. Eyewitnesses reported seeing orcs around the time the incident happened. Accusations were thrown. Orcs could be peaceful, but they were not a race that shied from conflicts. Hence, they returned the accusations using their fists. Things would have been fine if this was a single incident. But it's not. It happened at almost every settlement near the border. Luckily, no life was lost throughout those incidents. But what happened caused the people of those settlements to request the kingdom officials to again close the settlement's access to the orcs. The officials tried calming the public down and increase security. But this of course displeased the orcs. It was as if the kingdom agreed that the accusations had been valid. In short, things were not looking good for the peace effort between the two countries. After Jack was done discussing with John, he said to Thurgood, "All right, let's go meet these nobles." The meeting was in another room. When Jack told Grace where he was going, she wanted to tag along. Jack let her. He never enjoyed this socializing session. He was glad if someone he was comfortable with accompanied him. The meeting was held inside a formal meeting room. Inside the room, the nobles had been waiting. On the way, Thurgood explained to Jack. The nobles were representatives from the 6 families that held political powers in 4 settlements near the border with VRMMO. They were the Ramos, Hallward, Fafnir, Orline, Del Soto, and Markin. One thing that Thurgood warned Jack was these families were the ones who had the most conflict with the orcs in the past and were the most vocal in criticizing the currently implemented peace policy between Themisphere and VRMMO. All 6 families had lost 1 or 2 family members to the orcs in the past, Thurgood said while he and Jack were on the way. They were still trying to call for blood against the orcs. They just no longer had the kingdom's backing, so they were powerless about it. The recent incidents gave them the chance to try to reignite the hatred of orcs in the masses, especially in the cities and towns where their families reside. Jack and Grace listened to Thurgood's explanation in silence. The representatives of the 6 families stood up and bowed at Jack when he entered the room. There was a lord's chair inside the meeting room. This chair was meant for Jack, so he sat on it. Beside him were smaller chairs meant for his advisors. Thurgood and Grace sat on those chairs. Opposite them were rows of sofas. The representatives sat back down on those sofas after Jack and the others sat. One of them stayed standing to introduce himself. "Your Majesty, allow me to take the lead to introduce myself. I am Sean Ramos, the oldest son of Bowen Ramos and heir to the Ramos family. My father was here during your coronation. He sent his regards." Sean sat and the woman next to him stood. "I am Lisa Hallward, the only daughter of Vlad Hallward. I am also the heir to the Hallward family. I've longed to meet your Majesty." The rest of them also introduced themselves. The representative from the Fafnir family was Willem Fafnir, the brother of Lord Fafnir. From the Orline was Hans Orline, the Lord himself. The Del Soto family also sent their heir, Julian Del Soto. The Markin was represented by Lord Markin's wife, Lucy Markin. She explained that Lord Markin couldn't come due to bad health. Hans Orlein, who was the most senior, decided to open the discussion. Your Majesty, we are here to euro. Let me cut you right there, Lord Orlein, Jack said. If what you want to suggest is to forbid orcs from entering our settlements, I can tell you now that it won't happen. The nobles were taken aback by Jack's bluntness. The king didn't even let them present their case. Your Majesty, please let us a euro. Jack lifted his hand, giving Hans Orlein the sign to stop. I understand that you surely have a very compelling reason to suggest what I think you want to suggest, which is outlawing orc presence in our cities. Am I right? Is this what you want to suggest? That is not wrong, but we also a euro, in that case. Let me explain to you why I've taken the step to make peace with the orcs. Jack again cut Hans' speech. He was now standing up and motioned for Hans to sit down. Hans had no choice but to comply. I believe everyone here is aware of the war that has ravaged Hydrorond. This war ended with a loss on the Draconian side. They are now taking refuge inside our country. Now, the thing I want you to focus on is not the fact that the Draconians are in our country. What I want you to pay attention to is what causes them to end up like that. And what is that? The six nobles looked at one another before Sean Ramos answered. The Liguridium and Orbor? Exactly, Jack exclaimed. Now, you might think this is just a faraway war of other countries that has nothing to do with us. But I can tell you this war has everything to do with us, with our world. I know the Liguridium ruler. I have crossed paths with him several times, and I can tell you for sure that he will not rest until this whole world, including our great kingdom, is in his grasp. Now, we can waste our time here fanning our grudges with the orcs while he built his army. He already conquered 3 countries, Liguridium, Orbor, and Hydrorond. We can't afford to think this has nothing to do with us. They will come for us sooner or later. Butayuro Orbor is not Conquerida Euro, Julian Del Soto said. The current queen of Orbor is an outworlder, who is also Liguridium ruler's consort. Orbor might as well be his, Jack declared. Grace was speechless. She knew that although Mistress was Master's cohort, she was not his consort. Jack just made things up. But the fact that the two were working together was not wrong, so Jack was not entirely lying. If we waste our time here, fighting with VRMMO, who do you think this will benefit? Jack continued his sermon. Once we weakened ourselves with these endless and pointless grudges, Liguridium will come and sweep us like they sweep Hydrorond. At that time, we are the ones who will have to find refuge in another country. Do you want that to happen? How do we know VRMMO does not have the same thought? Lisa Hallward asked. How do we know that they won't stab us in the back when Liguridium comes? I have spoken to VRMMO's Grand Chief, Jack answered. Both of us want peace for our 2 countries. Our 2 countries have been trapped in endless squabbles rooted in misunderstanding. I know you have all suffered and lost someone due to past conflicts with the orcs, but the orcs have also lost someone. Continuing this vengeance-fueled crusade will just bring ruin to all of us. For the good of our country, I ask that you see the big picture. It's time we bury the hatchet. VRMMO is not our enemy. The orcs are not our enemy. Liguridium is. Our 2 countries have to work together to make sure that we stand strong against the inevitable invasion from Liguridium. The 6 nobles were speechless as they looked at one another. Now that everyone is clear about this, please excuse me. Your Majesty, I still don't think it is wise to trust VRMMO just like Theta Euro. Your Majesty, if Liguridium is such a threat, we have to eradicate VRMMO, which is closer before they come a euro. When Jack thought he had settled the matter with his speech and wanted to leave, all 6 nobles instead expressed their opinions without any sense of order. Jack gritted his teeth. This was why he hated court matters. He had no patience for this game of politics where he had to change people's minds. If this happened in the guild, he would have pulled his swords and beat these people senseless until they agreed with his view. And he almost did. He was just a thought away from brandishing Stormbreaker when he heard Grace's voice. Everyone, please calm down. Grace had her hand on Jack and guided him back to his seat. Now that the king had expressed his opinion, he will now hear yours, Grace said. Jack gave her a face that said, Do I have to? Grace just had her hand on his, telling him silently to stay still. Lord Orline, as the most senior, we will hear yours first, Grace said. Thank you, my La de Euro, if I may be so bold. May I inquire your name? Hans Orline asked. Her name is Grace. She is my newest advisor, Jack announced. Jack didn't look at Thurgood, but he could imagine the man lifting his eyebrows. All the formal advisor positions in the Monarch system had been filled, but Jack thought it shouldn't be a problem to give Grace an informal position. Thank you, Your Majesty, and my Lady Grace, for this chance. First, let me give you an account of the background of my familiar, unlike Jack, who just dove directly into the heart of the matter in his speech. Hans spent a considerable amount of time telling everyone about his family and his station. This pissed Jack off even more, but Grace's hand kept him in check. Hans finally got to the main point of his speech, where he expressed that orcs were a barbaric race and couldn't be trusted. The recent incidents at the border towns had shown that he was right. He demanded that all orcs were banned from entering Themisphere settlements. Jack almost jumped up and kicked the noble in the face. What Hans proposed was the same as treating Jack's starting speech as non-existent, but Grace's hand again held him back. Grace thanked Hans and then asked Lucy Markin to speak next. The discussion went on for hours. Each of these nobles gave needless introductions as Hans did. Jack was so bored that he no longer paid attention to whatever these nobles were talking about. He instead trained mana manipulation and the sword's heart while maintaining the FAA section ade of sitting still and listening. He trained until he felt a nudge from Grace. Euro, now that you have all presented your case, I would like you to go back to what our king mentioned earlier, Grace said. We all understand your concerns. You all had a bad history with the orcs. Some of you have bad blood with the orcs. Euro. Blood debt, Julian Del Soto exclaimed. The orcs killed my grandfather. And how did that happen? Grace asked. She didn't show any dissatisfaction with being interrupted. Euro, in a battle when his patrolling squad met Verimer's roaming party, Julian answered. Then your grandfather died in the glory of battle. I'm sure he also killed some orcs during that battle. Orcs who might have children. Those children could have grown up and have children your age. Those orc children hated us too for killing their grandfathers, but they are letting go of this hate by coming to our cities and making friends with us. We should do the same. If we stop letting them come, they will come to hate us again, and then more grandchildren will lose their grandfathers in a future war that doesn't need to happen. It's time to put a stop to the needless war. There are enemies whom we should fight and those we shouldn't. The ones who shouldn't are the ones who are willing to make peace with us, such as the Verimer nation. I know this is hard, but please give the orcs a chance. What happened was just theft and vandalism. No one was hurt. It might be the orcs who have done it, it might not. Even if it was, we can't blame the entire race for the act of a few. As our king said, banning the orcs is out of the question, but we can work together to make sure that adequate security is implemented. Grace was staring at Jack when she said that, giving him a hint to say something. Jack nodded. Thurgood will work with you and listen to your proposal. As long as it doesn't cross the line, we will consider implementing it. Grace rolled her eyes. Jack was pushing the work to Thurgood. The nobles looked at one another. Finally, Hans Orline said, Thank you, Your Majesty and my lady, for listening to us. We will heed your words and work with Advisor Thurgood about the increased security. In that case, please return to the guest quarter to rest, Thurgood said. I will arrange a discussion with you all tomorrow morning. For today, I still have matters to discuss with our king. The 6 nobles stood up and bowed. We shouldn't take up more of Your Majesty's time. Please excuse us. Jack happily excused them. Anything to end this charade. Thurgood rose and sent those people away. From now on, I want you by my side for my monthly kingdom meeting, Jack said to Grace. Grace giggled at the request. You are truly good at dealing with those nobles, Jack added. Well, I did meet a lot of high-profile people in our past world, Grace said. It comes with the territory of my profession. Socializing skill is a must. I don't think it is just your socializing skill, Peniel said. What is the level of your diplomacy and influence skills? Uhayuro, my diplomacy is advanced master. My influence skill is intermediate master. Good Lord Ayuro. So high? How did you get them so high levels? Jack asked. I know so many important natives in this world, but I only have advanced expert for my influence. I don't think any of your important natives are comparable to God Greed now, are they? Grace chuckled. I am close to Goddess Serenity, Jack declared. You are just imagining it. Penuel slapped Jack's head. She then said to Grace, your two auxiliary skills are truly very high. As long as the natives don't hate you from the start, they will listen to what you say, and it will be easier for them to see your point of view because of it. Jack is right. You should be present in his court meetings. It will be easier for him to sway the officials' opinions to his side. Well, as long as his opinions are not too absurd. Hey, when have my opinions ever been absurd? Jack protested. Grace laughed. I am happy I can be of use to you. You are not just of use. You are extremely invaluable to me, Jack said. Grace's cheeks became red and she lowered her head. Huh? What's wrong? Are you not feeling well? Jack asked, which resulted in Penuel's slapping his head again. Your denseness is truly outrageous, Penuel said. Thurgood returned to the room then. Shall we proceed to our regular meeting? He asked. Yes, let's go. But I want Grace to attend the meeting as well, Jack said. Certainly. I would have suggested it myself, Thurgood said. He was also impressed with the way Grace handled the meeting just now. They spent the remainder of the days discussing country matters. Jack listened to everyone's opinions as usual. But because he had gone through this several times, he now had his own opinion once in a while. When he expressed it, Grace helped to make sure that his thoughts were properly articulated. It was late at night when the meeting ended. Jack was now free to deal with his things the next day. He sent a message informing Doman that he would go to the guild headquarters the next morning. Thank you very much for your help today. You are amazing, Jack said to Grace. You've only realized that now? Grace asked teasingly. Of course not. I've always known you are amazing. But you prove that you can be even more amazing than your usual amazingness. I have no idea what you are spouting. So, you will go to Heavenly Citadel tomorrow? Yes, Jack nodded. Can I tag along? Grace asked. I certainly won't mind. Let's go together tomorrow morning, Jack said. Okay. See you tomorrow. Sleep well. You too, Jack replied. Jack watched her leave. She had been given a guest quarter in the palace. You should have invited her to your quarter. I can't believe you wasted such a precious chance. Jack heard a voice and turned to see Darmos there. Hey, old mighty one, where have you been to? Thurgood said you were absent for a few days. Jack asked Darmos. Do I have to always be in this palace? I thought he was glad that I wasn't here to bother him, Darmos said. To answer your question, I went back to my place to take some things. What things? Jack asked. Honestly, I never thought that hanging around here is going to be a long-term thing, but I guess it's not that bad. Among the things I picked up is the water from my lake. I mixed that water into the lake next to your guild headquarters. That should increase the grade of that lake and its fish. Now I can enjoy that lake properly. Pick up water? How the hell do you do that? Jack asked. Everyone has their secret, little Jack. You should be thankful I improved the grade of that lake. The tiny dragon turtle living inside will experience better growth due to the improved environment. You can't expect it to stay cooped up inside its cave and just rely on the ice manasite, do you? Growing monsters need a large and quality space to move around to stay healthy. Thanks to me, it now has it. I see. I guess I have to thank you then, Jack said. You should. But despite my kindness, that dragon turtle is still rude. It still hid inside its cave when I entered the lake. Yeah. I wonder why, Jack said. Well, I am going to sleep. See you. Darmos harumphed for a reply. The next morning, Jack teleported to Heavenly Citadel with Grace. Doman told Jack to come to the space-time chamber. Jack first went to the guild hall because Jeannie wanted to meet him. She was going out on a quest, so she couldn't stay long. Padoin, Tip, and Captain Whitebeard were also in the hall. How is your trip to the Council of Elpo? Jack asked Genie and Paydoin. It's a good trip. We were made to wait outside the entrance for a few days. But once the faction's representatives came out and sensed Hope's sanctification within us, we were invited in. We were treated with a feast and they showed us around the place. Paydoin added with excitement. The faction was built at the center of a constellation of floating islands. A very beautiful place. The islands themselves were home to a minor race, the Eaglefolk. They were humans with eagle heads and large eagle wings on their backs. These Eaglefolks lived together with the people of the Council of Elpo, Genie said. They normally stop anyone from going near the faction. But they also sense Hope's sanctification in us, so they let us pass. We don't need to worry about Master attacking that place, Paydoin informed. Why is that? Jack asked. The place is full of crazily powerful natives. Most of them have levels 80 to 90, Paydoin said. Their upper echelons are all mythical grades above level 90. There were even a few who were eternal grades. Do you remember the first native we laid eyes on during the tutorial period? Genie asked. The one who opened the portal into this game world. Onuran, Jack asked. Yes, that one. He is Hope's second in command. With Hope gone, he is now the top guy in the faction, Genie answered. And he is a level 99 Eternal, Paydoin said. Wow! So powerful? Jack exclaimed. Hey, this makes me think. Since all the players who have Hope's sanctification are in Themisphere, maybe we can persuade them to move their base into this country. Forget it. We have already tried, Paydoin said. They share their god's strong belief in neutrality. They won't take any side in the world's struggle, Genie said. We give them our warning. They were fairly surprised when we told them about the divine heritage. Onuran can sense Hope's essence inside the altar once he knows it is there. He thanked us and ensured no one would disturb the heritage. Even if Master attacks with an overwhelming number, they have a counter. As the leader of divine factions, they have a beacon that can summon the other divine factions. That's right. With so many powerful natives and such a protective device in place, there is no way Master can get the divine heritage, Paydoin said. As gratitude, they treated us with another feast and let us use their facilities for a few days. Genie and I got a lot of mana cores from those facilities. All in all, we had a really good time there. What about you and Grace? How did it go with the Council of Charites? Genie asked. We also have a good Tamiya we were welcomed. We were invited to participate in their games, which we played rather well, but we had to cut it short and not play until the final. They were so happy with us now they've decided to move their base to Themisphere, Jack said with a grin. Grace and Penuel were shaking their heads vigorously behind Jack. Genie and Paydoin were confused about what to make of all that. Well, anyway, Paydoin and I have to go for another quest, Genie said. Here is your stuff. I better give them to you now before you run off again to God knows where. Genie gave Jack 3 technique books she had copied. Books that contained the Field of Swords, the Ghost Sword, and the Lightning Mine. Before you leave, do you mind copying another one? While grinning, Jack handed Genie the Magic Clone Technique book. Genie shook her head. You are lucky we got plenty of mana cores during our trip to the Council of Elpo, she said. She copied the book on the spot and returned the original to Jack. Thank you, Jack exclaimed. Without further ado, he learned the skills from those 4 technique books. Field of Swords, level 120th active skill, range, requires swords, conjure sword lights in a 10-meter radius area around the user. Each sword light dealt 100% light damage. 30% chance to cause bleed. Cooldown 30 minutes. Stamina 250. Ghost Sword, level 120th active skill, melee, requires sword, turns the equipped swords incorporeal. Swords will bypass all obstacles and deal 100% soul damage when passing through targets. Ignore all defensive stats. 30% chance to cause weakness. Swords can no longer be used to parry attacks. Duration 10 seconds. Cooldown 1 hour. Stamina 200. Lightning Mine, level 120 active spell, range. Requires magic weapon, create 1 lightning orb that discharges lightning which deals 100% lightning damage each second to everything within a 5-meter radius. Each lightning attack has a 1% chance to inflict paralyze. Range 80 meters. Duration 30 seconds. Cooldown 10 minutes. Mana 150. Magic clone, level 120th active spell. Creates an identical clone to the caster. Duration 3 minutes. Cooldown 3 hours. Mana 200. Field of Swords gave Jack another ammunition for AoE assaults, which was the preferred assault during a war. The damage didn't seem like much, but he would have to see how many sword lights were conjured to make a proper judgment. Ghost Sword at first glance seemed inferior to Phantom Blade. Phantom Blade had the same feat of bypassing the enemy's defenses and blocks, while the actual weapon could still parry the enemy's attacks. However, Ghost Sword dealt higher damage, and it was soul-type damage. Additionally, Penuel told Jack that he could still use other skills while Ghost Sword was active. If he used Brave Slash when Ghost Sword was active, the slash would become unblockable. Jack didn't pay much attention to the Lightning Mine and Magic Clone. Those spells would change once he fused them with Lightning Strike and Body Double. He would have to put fusing those spells on hold. He needed to see his grandfather first. Before that, he wanted to use the souls inside the container of souls. After thinking for some time, he decided there was one spell that he wanted to fully max. Not just its level, but its star as well. He opened his containers of souls and used 1,200,000 souls to upgrade Reset to its 4th star. Each star reduced the cooldown further by another 6 minutes. His Reset's cooldown was now 4 hours and 36 minutes. Reset allowed him to use big skills with long cooldowns twice, which meant their usage frequency was doubled and thus increased the speed of their star upgrades. Fully reducing the cooldown of this spell would give the other skills a faster improvement pace. A bunch of his other skills had their stars upgraded after repeated usage. A few received their first stars. They were Mirage Beast, Teleportation, and Ghost Form. Each star of Mirage Beast increased the copy's health point and attributes by 5%. So, at max 10 stars, the copy from Mirage Beast would have 100% health point and attributes as the real their ass. Each star of Teleportation reduced its cooldown by 6 seconds. When Jack acquired the 10th star of this spell, he would be able to use Teleportation every minute. Ghost Form's every star reduced its speed penalty by 5%. If this spell was fully developed to the 10th star, the speed penalty would disappear, meaning Jack could move as fast as he normally did during Ghost Form. Jeannie and Paydoin had left when Jack was reviewing and upgrading his skills. Grace was chatting with Tip and Captain Whitebeard while waiting for him. "You've better not let Doman wait too long," Tip said when Jack was still not moving. "He brought a guest just for you, and this guest is rather impatient. You make me truly curious. Who is this guest?" Jack asked. "If you want to find out so much, why don't you just go meet them?" Captain Whitebeard said. "What do we have here? A wise mouse," Jack teased. "Hey, you show respect to my friend," Tip exclaimed. "That's right. I won't let you off if you hurt my captain's feeling." Grace joined the chorus. "Settle down, people. I can perfectly defend my honor," Whitebeard said, and then turned into a giant shark-like rat. His current form was now taller than Jack, and he was looking down at Jack from above. "Do you feel lucky, punk? Holy Euro, where do you learn to talk like that?" "All right, I apologize. My fault," Jack said with a laugh. "But you do know the current me can easily whoop your ass, don't you?" As he said that, he noticed Whitebeard's level was higher than before. Previously, when the mouse first showed this form, his level was 68. Now, his level was 73. As a native, such a leveling speed should be impossible. He is my companion," Tip said with a grin. Whitebeard turned back to a little mouse and gave Tip his palm. "My bro," he exclaimed as the two did a high five. "You shouldn't teach him all those street talks," Jack said to Tip. He then turned to Grace. "Let's go, Grace. Or if you want to stay and chat with this wise street mouse, it's okay." Grace made a motion as if she was going to kick Jack. Jack dodged and ran out the door. Grace chased after him. "Sayuro, young people. Love does make them act weirdly," Tip said. "How old are you?" Whitebeard asked. 19, Tip answered. "Euro, don't worry, bro. You will find yours one day," Whitebeard said. Before Jack went to the space-time chamber, He made a stop first at the guild warehouse to take common-grade equipment and blacksmith materials so he could fuse them using his transformation prism. Aside from that, he also checked the available exchange items Genie had put in for members to exchange using their guild contribution points. Most of the items were of no interest to him except for the gemstones. After so long and with many members' efforts, they had acquired a collection of legendary-grade gemstones. Inside the exchangeable list were all the 6 gemstones of the legendary grades. That's why Jack didn't bother to keep any legendary-grade gemstone he had gotten. However, Genie set the contribution points needed for these legendary gemstones at the maximum possible. Jack never used his guild contribution points for anything other than to get the common-grade equipment and material. He always donated a portion of the fused equipment back into the warehouse, so he always ended up with more guild contribution points than the ones he had spent. Even then, Jack only had enough to exchange for 3 legendary gemstones: amethyst, emerald, and amber. Genie only copied 1 gemstone of each type. She never put in 2 identical gemstones. Only after one of them was taken then she would copy the one that had been taken, considering if she had spare mana cores. Hence, Jack had to take 3 different gemstones. He used the emerald on his runestone of marching, bringing its elemental energies to 54,900. The amber was used for the runestone of spellcasting. Its elemental energies were now 32,500. The amethyst was consumed by his runestone of luck, increasing its elemental energies to 98,150. This runestone only needed another 1,850 elemental energies to reach its maximum potential. Jack could have exchanged for a diamond instead of the emerald or amber to fully level up his runestone of luck, but he thought it was a waste to use a legendary gemstone for that amount of elemental energy. A unique gemstone would have sufficed. Unfortunately, Genie didn't copy gemstones of lower grades because she considered it a waste of mana cores for copying lower-grade consumables. So, Jack had to leave the level up of his runestone of luck for later. Jack resumed going to the space-time chamber with Grace after leaving the warehouse. When they arrived at the entrance, they saw the man standing guard there. "What are you doing here? Are you waiting for someone?" Jack asked the man. "Master Doman said you are coming today, so he instructed everyone to leave the chamber. This chamber is restricted until your business inside is done. My job is to stop anyone other than you from entering." "Me included?" Grace asked. "Uhayuro Master Doman did say everyone except for Jack," the man answered. "What about the nightmares and the satyrs? He didn't chase them out, did he?" "They are our guests," Jack asked. "No, but Master Doman requested them to stay in their corner. The nightmare's mother, or her spirit, I guess, erected a flame barrier that seals that corner. You will see a giant flaming dome when you enter." "So, the old man is inside alone with his guest?" Jack asked. "Guests. There were 2 of them, and Master Doman is with Heian," the man answered. "The hell? If he is allowed to bring company, then I should be allowed as well." "Grace, you follow me in," Jack exclaimed. "Butayuro." The man tried to stop Jack. "Hey, who is your boss?" Jack gave the man a stare. "Uga Euro you area Euro." The man stepped aside and let the 2 enter. "You shouldn't be jealous that your grandfather has a favorite disciple," Grace said to Jack as they stepped inside the chamber. "Who says I'm jealous?" Jack refuted. Inside, they saw the flaming dome the man mentioned. The flame that formed the wall was rather thick. They couldn't see what was inside the dome. On the opposite side, they saw 4 people standing and talking. Jack and Grace walked toward them. As they approached, they could better listen to their conversation. It was mostly 2 of the 4 who talked. Rather than talk, it was more like arguing. The arguing pair saw Jack, and they stopped their conversation. 2 out of the 4 were Doman and Heian. As for the other 2, one was an old woman while the other was a teenage girl. Jack didn't recognize the old woman, but he knew the teenage girl. It was the crazy girl from Cipher Flight whom Jack killed during the VRMMO invasion war. "Hey, crazy chick," Jack greeted the girl, which immediately ticked the girl off. "Who the hell do you call crazy?" Muilan yelled. "This is your grandson? I can see where his insolence comes from," the old woman uttered. "Hey, you can't just mouth off to me like that. You old Euro oof. Jack didn't finish his words because Doman had come over and slapped him Euro using a fist. I apologize for my grandson. Doman bowed to the old woman. You also apologize. Doman commanded Jack. Euro, what makes you so fire up? Jack remarked. He bowed to the old woman. I am sorry. Forgive my rudeness. Humph. The old woman harumphed and looked away. Muilan stuck her tongue out ridiculing Jack. This is Master Murong Shu, Doman introduced. She will teach you and Heian some martial arts. Why don't you teach us? Jack asked. Because he doesn't know it, Murong uttered. What I am about to teach you is a secret ancient art handed down as a legacy in my family. It has never been taught to outsiders. Euro, so, why teach us now? Jack asked. Murong glanced at Doman upon the question. Jack couldn't quite translate the meaning of that glance. There is no need for you to think about her reason. What's important is she is willing to teach you, Doman said to Jack. What's so special about her martial arts? Jack asked. You've told me about that long guy using the 9-yang exploding fist. Remember? Doman asked in return. Jack nodded. I didn't explain it properly the last time, Doman said. The 9-yang exploding fist is an ancient art that comes in a collection of what we call the 9-yang scripture. Aside from the one long used, there are 2 other arts within that scripture. The 9-yang scorching blade and the 9-yang restoration. I hope Long only found one of those 3 arts. But if he has the other 2 as well, he will be an even more troublesome opponent. You have 3 classes and a lot of skills. Long has 2 classes, so he is not too far off from you. The worrying thing is his martial arts talent. Throughout my teaching years, people who show such talent can be counted on one hand. He has been seriously practicing martial arts since childhood. You, on the other hand, only take it seriously recently. So, in terms of martial arts, I must admit that he is better than you. Thank you for your honesty, Jack said. Hence, if Long has the complete 9-yang scripture, you need something to counter it, Doman continued. There is such a thing? Jack asked. The 9-yang scripture is both a very powerful and famous martial art during the golden age of martial arts in the past. As any good art was, an equally powerful martial art was created to counter the 9-yang scripture. The creator called this new martial art the 9-yin scripture. This 9-yin scripture was composed of 3 martial arts as well. And this Euro, what Master Murong is going to teach us is the 9-yin scripture? Jack asked. The deal is just for me to lay out the basics, Murong uttered. Whether you can learn it or not, that's entirely up to you. Master Murong will only be here until next week, Doman said, which is 9 days from today. We have been wasting time waiting for you, Leave Me Alone said to Jack. Then why don't you start learning first? Jack asked. I don't like repeating myself. Murong was the one who answered. I will only lay out the basics once. After that, I will only give pointers for the remaining of my time here. It might be only 9 days, but in here it is 90 days, Doman said. I believe it will be enough time for you to learn the arts. Haha. What do you take my family arts for, you old fool? Murong laughed. I've been learning it for my whole life, and I've only managed to learn 1 out of the 3 arts in the scripture. Do you think these youngsters fresh out of puberty can fare better? I ain't going to lie to you, I do think so, Doman replied. Humph. We will see, Murong said. The deal is that I only teach these youngsters. You are not allowed to be present during this time. Out. Why? Jack asked. She is afraid I steal her martial art, Doman answered. She is going to teach us, isn't she? What's stopping us from teaching you later? She doesn't believe you can understand the scripture. Without proper understanding, even if you memorize the mantra and pass it to me, I won't be able to understand it as well. That's right. This whole week will just be a big waste of time, Murong uttered. But a deal is a deal. Once this is done, we are even. You get that, Doman? Understood, Doman said. Then to Jack, he said, I have faith in you. Pay attention and train hard. Jack nodded. Hey, what is she doing here? Bring her out as well, Murong said to Doman while pointing at Grace. Jack asked Doman, "Did you say how many youngsters are to be taught in your deal?" "No," Doman answered. "Then she stays," Jack said to Murong. "Or is Master Murong afraid that she can understand your teaching?" Murong's eyes darted between Jack and Doman. She was vexed. "Can she do mana manipulation?" Murong asked. "I can," Grace answered. "Humph. Only 3. No one else is allowed to come in," Murong exclaimed. "Okay," Doman replied. He gave Jack, "Leave me alone," and Grace a nod before leaving the chamber. Once Doman went out the exit, Murong gave the distant flame dome a look. The ones inside there shouldn't be able to see what was going on over here. She then turned to the 3 youngsters before her. "All right, you 3. First, I will recite the mantra of my 9 scripture. I will only do it once. If you can't memorize it, then it's your problem. After that, I will perform the movement flow as taught by my ancestors. These movements are not actual martial arts, but a specific practice that should help you understand the 9 scripture. I will only perform these movements thrice. The first time will be once I finish reciting the mantra. Another 2 times when you ask me to repeat. Outside of this, I will just give you simple pointers." The 3 nodded. "Then let us begin," Murong said. That day, Jack's human age reached the 19th month. His race skill ambition increased to rank 2. When this skill was used, all damage received was reduced by 40%, movement speed was increased by 75%, became immune to mental status ailments, and cleansed ongoing mental status ailments. Its duration was increased to 60 seconds. The cooldown remained at 30 minutes. Earlier this day, Jack and the others asked Murong to repeat the practice movement flow for the 2nd time. They were now back to trying to understand the arts. Jack, Leave Me Alone, and Grace had been practicing at different corners of the chamber. Leave Me Alone had always been a loner. When Murong stopped her lecture and it was time to practice, he separated away from the others and did his training. Jack and Grace stayed close and had discussions about the training at first. As time passed, Grace noticed Jack was fully focused on trying to understand the teaching. She moved away so Jack had no distraction. She also dedicated herself fully to learning. Whenever each of the 2 had a breakthrough, they communicated with one another so both of them could have a better understanding. Jack went to talk to Leave Me Alone when such a thing happened, but Leave Me Alone's response was just too cold for Jack's taste. Grace took over to communicate with Leave Me Alone when they had the next breakthrough. However, despite the seeming progress, they still couldn't completely understand the scripture, nor could they perform the 9 martial arts. "You have just been sitting there for days. Have you given up?" Muilan teased Jack. "It's good if you do. You people are wasting your time. Master Murong has been teaching me this scripture for years. Even I have not managed to learn it. Do you think you can learn it in a few months? You have only 2 months left. After that, Master Murong and I will end this pretense and leave." "Master Murong can leave later, but you can just leave now," Jack said. "Why don't you leave? No one needs you here. Go shoo." Muilan's face turned red from anger. "You a Euro. Do you not believe I will teach you a lesson? Do you not remember you lost to me already?" Jack returned. "Muilan, leave them alone," Murong commanded. "Otherwise, that old fool will make an excuse that his precious grandson fails because of your distraction. Come back and do your training." "Yes, master," Muilan said obediently. She stuck her tongue out to mock Jack before she left. Jack returned to his training. He didn't mind the girl. She was just bored. Murong also trained Muilan inside this chamber. With how the mana was denser inside this chamber, it was an ideal place to train. Murong might be annoyed that she had to comply with Doman's deal, but after spending time inside this chamber, she thought it might not be a bad thing for her. She also trained her martial arts while she trained Jack and the others. Jack manipulated the mana around him. With his mana affinity talent, it was an easy feat. He was glad he got the talent before he started training here. Otherwise, the training would be that much harder. One similar thing among the ancient arts was that they all required mana manipulation to perform. That was why ancient martial arts were generally more powerful than modern martial arts, which only required movements. This was also the reason why Murong asked Grace if she could do mana manipulation. If she could not, then there was no point for her to be here. Hence, Jack believed that the key to learning this 9 scripture was in the flow of mana. Murong had shown them the movement to practice the arts, but those movements were not the actual method to perform the arts. That was why even though Murong memorized the movements, she still could only do one out of the 3 arts from the 9 scripture. The one she had learned was the 9 abyssal finger. During the past month, there was one day when she was feeling generous and she performed this art to them. Out of her finger, a black cold energy shot out. The energy was the opposite of the vibrant hot energy Long showed when he performed the 9 yang exploding fist. Even though the display was not as impressive as Long's ancient art, Jack's mana sense could grasp how sharp the energy from Murong's finger was. If that energy hit him, he believed it would still pierce through his excellent defenses. From that one presentation, Jack vaguely grasped a similarity between 9 abyssal finger and the practice movements Murong showed earlier. The similarity was not in their movements but in how the mana flow was copying the practice movements when the abyssal finger was unleashed. Thus, he simply sat and focused on the mana flow. He had been doing hundreds of simulations on how to move his mana around his body. Within the 9 scriptures, the 3 ancient arts were the 9 abyssal finger, the 9 phantom sword, and the 9 devouring palm. Out of the 3, Jack focused his learning on the 9 phantom sword. The reason was that he felt his sword's heart resonated with that art. This should help him to increase his chance of learning it. Jack's 100 synchronous thoughts brought all his contemplations together. The mantra Murong had taught them at the start, the practice movements Murong had shown them, the mana flow following those practice movements, Murong's technique when he performed the 9 abyssal finger, and his sword's heart. All these thoughts were brought together and linked with one increased in intensity. The shimmering space became distorted as if something was trying to break out. Another, like pieces of puzzles that slowly formed a picture. When the last piece was inserted, the picture was clear. Enlightenment followed. Jack opened his eyes. His mind became exceedingly clear. So clear that it might as well be empty. He was devoid of any thought. His mana moved following his instinct. He felt it building up and welling up within him. He didn't fight it. He let it flow as if it was natural. Murong, who was not far away, sensed this unusual mana movement. She turned to where Jack was still sitting. What she saw made her eyes turn extremely wide. She saw the space directly in front of Jack started to shimmer. The shimmering increased in intensity. The shimmering space became distorted as if something was trying to break out. Then all of a sudden, a black thin light tore out from the shimmering air and pierced through the space beyond it. Ninja Euro 9 in Phantom Sword Euro? Murong stammered. Everyone in the chamber turned in Jack's direction. They all felt the explosive power when the black light pierced out. Murong was still frozen at her place. She could hardly believe what she had seen. Grace came over to Jack. "You've learned it? Congratulations!" she exclaimed. "Mama Euro, I can't tell for sure," Jack said. His face didn't look happy for someone who had managed to learn an ancient art. "I do feel like it is in my grasp, but it all feels so unclear. I will have to try doing it again later. I can't now, it's as if my entire mana has been drained. Even my mana sense turns numb. I can hardly sense anything. Masayuro Mr. Euro, is it true? Did he just perform the 9 phantom sword?" "It's not true, is it?" Muilan asked. She had heard Murong muttering the name of the art. She couldn't believe someone who had just started learning the ancient art for 1 month could have successfully learned it. She had been doing it for years, for goodness sake. Murong was even more shaken than her. She had been practicing for decades. She had only managed to learn one art, the 9 abyssal finger. She had been trying to master either the phantom sword or the devouring palm since then but met with little success. How could this brat do it in just 1 month? While the pair of master and disciple were gaping at the impossible event, Jack was discussing with Grace how he pulled the feat just now. Leave Me Alone was conflicted if he should go and speak with Jack, but he ultimately turned away. If Jack could do it, then so could he declared in his mind. He doubled down on his effort so he didn't lose to Jack. Jack tried his best to explain to Grace but he himself was rather unclear about how he did it. He had to try it again later before he could be sure. But one thing was for sure, the mana movement was the key. This is all thanks to your mana perception. Otherwise, I won't be able to get a grasp on it, Jack said. Grace had a talent called mana perception. She acquired this talent recently when she was still in Greed's sanctum. Greed watched Jack in secret when he was using the talent pill. After Jack left the next day, Greed gave a talent pill to Grace as well. After using the pill, Grace gained the mana perception. This talent allowed her to perceive mana using her eyes as if they were colorful fumes. Jack guessed it was similar to the time when his eyes perceived mana when he was inside the Council of Virtus' ancient battleground. When she gained this talent, Grace panicked a little because she thought something was wrong with her eyes. After a while, she came to understand her eyes' new ability. A talent wasn't something that could be turned on and off. She had no choice but to accept that she would never see the world as it used to be now. Because of this mana perception, Grace was able to see the way the mana flowed when Murong performed her 9 in Abyssal Finger and gained a better understanding of it. Jack's mana sense might be advanced enough to detect how Murong articulated her mana during the performance, but it won't be able to rival the way Grace saw it using her eyes. She told Jack and Leave Me Alone what she saw. This was how Jack managed to gain a better understanding of how the mana was being articulated. I'm glad I can be of help, Grace said. Don't say that. I believe you can learn this art as well, Jack uttered. Really? Yeah. You are very talented. You just have to believe in yourself. Grace nodded. I will try my best. Grace went and practiced again. Jack rested and waited for his mana to recover before he gave it another go. Kitayuro, how do you do it? Murong asked. She came after Grace left. Muilan was behind her. Hee, Jack grinned. Seeing that, Muilan scolded. There is no need to gloat. You just happened to do it by coincidence. I don't believe you will be able to do it again. Who is gloating? I just find it amusing because you two kept on saying it is impossible that we learn the arts, Jack said. And now you come to ask me how I did it. Well, I'm not a petty person. I don't mind telling you how I did it. So Jack explained to them the same as what he told Grace. You practice Sword's Heart? Murong asked. Yeah, Arthur taught me, Jack replied. Arthur Bagrat? That sword loner? Why did he teach you? What do you mean, why did he teach me? We are friends. He saw me using swords. He taught me. What's the big deal? Jack asked back. Jack didn't know, but Murong knew it was a big deal. The Arthur she knew was a rather stingy man when it came to his swordsmanship. Arthur always kept to himself and rarely accepted disciples. So, teaching Jack the pinnacle of his sword zen when Jack was not even his proper disciple spoke volumes about the act. The Sword's Heart did help me a lot in understanding the 9-in Phantom Sword, but it didn't help the other 2 arts. I understand the Phantom Sword is one of the 2 arts within the scripture you are still unable to learn. Isn't it? If you want, I can teach you the Sword's Heart. You are willing? Murong was surprised by Jack's offer. Yeah, why not? We are allies, aren't we? You are a good friend to my Gramps and I'm a good friend to your disciple. For wins, Jack said. Murong was slightly irked. Jack said she was a good friend to Doman, but she didn't bring it up. She instead asked, Won't Arthur be angry with you if you teach it to me? Huh? Will he? He never said anything about I'm not allowed to teach it to someone else. A euro in that case, teach Muilan, Murong said. Master. Muilan was confused by the request. I'm not that proficient in swords. Even if you teach it, I will find it hard to learn, Murong explained. Muilan is different. She is talented with swords. It will benefit her greatly if she can learn the Sword's Heart. Jack turned to Muilan, grinned widely and said, Call me master and I will teach you. In your dream, Muilan yelled. Haha, I'm just joking. Okay. First, you have to memorize the Sword's Heart mantra. It goes like Thesieuro. Another 3 days passed in the outside world, which was equivalent to another month inside the space-time chamber. Some of the guild members started complaining about not being allowed to use the chamber. The man was adamant about not allowing anyone to enter. He told these members they could file their complaints either to Genie or Doman. These members had no choice but to turn away. Inside the chamber, everyone had a better progression compared to the first month. Once Jack started teaching Muilan the sword's heart, Murong's attitude to them also softened. She no longer minded repeating the scripture's mantra nor performing the practice movements when asked. Now she was properly training them. Muilan's understanding of the sword's heart also progressed at a rapid pace. She was indeed talented in the sword technique, even if not as talented as Jack. Murong herself started joining the discussion about the Nine scripture with Jack and Grace. Even Leave Me Alone came near them to listen when they started discussing. Murong found herself having a better breakthrough from the discussion than when she tried to train alone by herself all these years. She was not able to perform the phantom sword yet, but she felt like she almost grasped the essence of the Nine devouring palm. She thought perhaps the condition within this space-time chamber also helped. Such a mana-rich environment was a dream for any martial arts practitioner. Grace and Leave Malone also achieved some breakthroughs in this second month. They couldn't yet fully perform the ancient arts, but they were touching its surface. Even Murong admitted it. Leave Me Alone showed promising development in using the Nine abyssal finger, so Murong asked him to focus on that art. Since Murong had mastered this art, it was easier for her to give Leave Me Alone pointers. Leave Me Alone absorbed Murong's teachings like a sponge. Murong was secretly surprised. Leave Me Alone was a silent person and rarely asked questions, but he could understand everything that Murong explained. Leave Me Alone also had a talent that had been activated for quite some time. This talent was also why he could learn so many of Doman's martial arts in such a short time compared to Jack. His talent was called Martial Art Prodigy. This talent increased his understanding of learning and practicing new martial arts. It also boosted any damage he inflicted using a martial art by 30%. As for Grace, Murong found her to improve tremendously in grasping the Nine devouring palm. This ancient art was said to be the most powerful among the three arts within the Nine scripture. It was also the most special because it was an art that somehow altered the practitioner's constitution before it could be mastered, and Murong found that Grace's constitution was very much aligned with the Nine devouring palm from the start. Hence, she required less effort to learn that art. This special constitution was also very much attuned to the Yin energy. This was the energy utilized by many of Murong's martial arts which adopted the principle of the soft beating the hard. Realizing this, she became extremely interested in Grace. At one point, Murong asked Grace, "Who is your martial art master?" "Me? I don't have any. The last time I was taught by Jet," Grace answered. "That childish old ox?" Murong scoffed. "This will not do. Someone like you is a waste for getting taught by that brute. If you don't mind, I am willing to teach you more martial arts." "You will. But you will have to acknowledge me as your formal master and swear to uphold our Murong family's principles." "What are the principles?" Grace asked. Murong laid it out to her. They were basically old-fashioned decrees where the disciple swore loyalty to the master, to never betray nor harm the master and fellow brethren, to uphold justice and defend the weak, to protect their learned martial arts and not teach them to an evil person, and so on and so on. Grace didn't find it to be a problem, but she asked one question. "Do I have to always follow you around?" "No. But if you are willing to do so, it will be more convenient for me to teach you my martial arts," Murong answered. "In that case I accept," Grace said and bowed. "Master, please accept this lowly one as your disciple." "Ooh, seems like you got a new martial sister," Jack said to Muilan, who was still practicing the sword's heart. "Yes, seems like I got a little sister," Muilan said. "Kid, you are obviously younger than her," Jack uttered. "So what? In a martial arts institution, the one who becomes a disciple first is considered the elder. Age is just a number. Sigh, I've no interest in arguing with a kid like you. I'm going away to practice," Jack said. "You are also a kid." Muilan stuck his tongue out at Jack. "Be careful you lose it if you keep on sticking it out," Jack made fun of her. Jack also experienced a great improvement during the second month. After he performed the Nine Phantom Sword 1 month ago, he tried doing it again. It was harder than expected. He couldn't repeat the same feat, even when the mana in his body had returned to normal. This went on for several days. Muilan was even starting to mock him and said that what he did before was not the Nine art, but just some anomaly that happened accidentally. Jack then proved her wrong by doing it for the second time. Afterward, he was again unable to repeat for several days. At this moment, he could already perform it twice a day. However, what he performed cannot be used in real combat. Aside from it needing great focus, he couldn't yet aim the art properly. The phantom sword that was conjured just seemed to lash out at random. He was still far from mastering the art. He wasn't discouraged by such slow progress. He was aware that martial arts were something that took a lot of effort and a long time to master. Even so, he made use of his time efficiently. In between his practice, he also cast his spells. Especially the big ones, but it was not simply casting. He cast it by training mana manipulation to empower them. Jack had been able to use mana manipulation to empower some of his skills. He was getting more and more proficient in it. But for his spells, he was mostly still unable to. It was not a problem for basic spells such as Ice Bullet or Electric Bolts. But for advanced and elite spells, it was harder to incorporate mana manipulation into them. The degree of difficulty was higher than his melee skills. Before this, he had been able to use mana manipulation to change his spell's trajectory. Now, he focused on training to increase the spell's power. His mana affinity gave him better control over his mana and allowed this feat to be possible. He first tested it using Ice Bullet. The ice ball shot out was significantly larger. No dummy was available inside the time-space chamber, though, so he couldn't gauge how much damage his mana manipulation had increased. He would have to run to the training ground if he wanted to find out. Empowering all the basic spells was easy with his new talent, but the big spells required more concentration. When he empowered his arcane turbulence, the chaotic torrents of energy swirling around the affected field seemed to be double than usual. Different spells required different mana flow, which meant a different approach. If he wanted to get used to all his spells and empower them naturally during a battle, he would have to practice for a very long time. Hence, he decided to select a few spells and focus on training these spells. The ones he chose to practice on were Perpetual Lightning Judgment, Time Realm, and Tracing Beams. When he empowered the Perpetual Lightning Judgment, the lightning snakes were thicker. The number of lightning snakes was also more than usual, and they could travel significantly farther distances. The first time he did this, he underestimated the empowerment. The lightning snakes spread everywhere and almost hit everyone in the chamber, even after he moved to the furthest corner in the chamber. Murong sensed the danger and quickly put herself in front of Muilan and used Key Shield. Her Key Shield was powered by mana manipulation, so it was thicker and sturdier than normal. But even then, the Key Shield shattered after being hit by 3 lightning snakes. Luckily, the lightning snakes were spread out everywhere, so she was not hit by more. Leave Me Alone and Grace also sensed the incoming lightning. Leave Me Alone transformed into White Tiger Emperor form and used his fists to block the lightning. Grace activated Armor of Ego and relied on her defense and resistance to survive the punishment. The lightning snakes even reached the fiery dome erected by Luna. The dome's defense was high enough that the damage caused by Jack's spell wasn't able to destroy it. Luna's image appeared above the dome afterward. The ghostly image of the fiery horse stared at Jack with a reproaching stare. The others in the chamber did the same. Jack looked at all of them as sweat came down his forehead. Sorry, it won't happen again," he said. The next time he cast it, he made sure to redirect all the lightning snakes into an empty corner. For the Time Realm, he noticed the barrier by its edges was thicker and more solid. Enemies who were trapped inside his Time Realm would find a harder time to escape. Not only that, but he sensed the mana inside the Time Realm was also much heavier. He believed the enemy's speed would be decreased even slower than usual. When he empowered his tracing beams, the produced beams were thicker and moved much faster. They also traveled further and lasted longer. Additionally, he found he could easily control their flying directions. He could make the beams turn at a sharp angle multiple times. This should allow him to perform feints with the beams, giving the enemy a harder time blocking those beams. Jack continued alternating the practice between the 9 phantom sword and the 3 spells. When the cooldown of the 3 spells was over, he cast these spells and practiced empowering them to get used to doing it naturally during a battle. The last month slowly trickled by inside the chamber. During this past month, everyone was starting to see better results from their training. Mulan had incorporated the sword's heart into her sword technique, even if it was still at the beginning stage. Her swordplay was much more fluid and accurate than before. She even requested Jack to spar with her once in a while. Jack happily complied. He also enjoyed crossing swords with Mulan and took his mind off training for a brief period. Leave Me Alone could already perform the 9 abyssal finger. Morong praised Leave Me Alone's learning speed. He was also a very obedient and disciplined disciple. Morong repeatedly mentioned how lucky Domin was for getting him as a disciple. Jack's learning speed was even faster. He could already summon the 9 phantom sword as he wished, but he still couldn't do it often. He felt as if his mana reserve was depleted after the execution. His mana sense became numb and he couldn't do mana manipulation. His mana sense returned rather fast. Around 1 minute after execution, he could sense mana again. Took longer for mana manipulation. He needed around 10 minutes before he could properly manipulate mana again. Even then, he couldn't immediately execute another 9 phantom sword. If he tried to, he would get the sensation as if he didn't have enough mana to do it. Only after half an hour had passed that he could unleash another 9 phantom sword. Because of this limitation, he couldn't use this martial art as he wished. He would be vulnerable for some time after using it. Morong consoled him that this limitation would reduce when his expertise in mana manipulation increased. Morong also praised that Jack's current level of mana manipulation was already a feat never before seen at someone his age. Jack had to attribute that praise to his mana affinity talent. As for Grace, she still couldn't execute the 9 devouring palm. She was dejected. She felt left out and even thought of herself as not talented enough. Jack and Morong consoled her. Morong said she also couldn't perform that art yet despite feeling close to learning it. She said this last art within the 9 scripture was the hardest one. But once Grace learned it, it would be worth it. At the end of their 3rd month inside the chamber, Domin entered the chamber with the man and bowler. Following behind them was a mass of players who had been dying to enter the chamber for some time. "How does it go?" Domin asked. "Do you mind if we use this chamber for a little while longer?" Morong asked back. Domin was genuinely confused by Morong's request. "I thought you can't wait to leave?" he asked. "Well, I guess these kids are okay. Furthermore, my new disciple here still needs a little bit more time to learn the ancient art," Morong answered. "New disciple?" Domin asked. But he soon understood whom the disciple Morong was talking about since her hand was on Grace's shoulder. "Master Morong here thinks this chamber's environment is very good for martial arts training. Hence she wants to stay longer," Jack said, which drew Morong's glare. "Ha ha ha. If you want to, just ask. There is no need to beat around the bush," Domin laughed. "Just use it as long as you like." "Uhayuro, what about the others?" the man asked. He was not looking forward to being a guard for another week. He had things to do. "It's okay," Morong said. "I've already laid out the important points. Letting the others see their training after this is no problem. One other thing, do you mind if I call my other disciples over to train?" Instead of answering, Domin turned to Jack. He was one of the leaders of this guild, after all. "Which disciple? Are you talking about 4 Winds?" Jack asked. "4 Winds and a few others," Morong nodded. "If it is 4 Winds and his friends from the Cipher Flight, then I'm okay with it. But we can only allocate 10 spots for you. That is already including you and Muilan. We have to prioritize our guild members. I'm sure you understand." "That is very generous of you. Thank you. I will send them a message about this," Morong said. "Aren't you going to talk this over with Jeannie and John first?" Bowler asked. "I'm still one of this guild's leaders, aren't I? I'm sure I have the right to just 10 spots in this chamber," Jack said. "It will benefit us to build the relationship with Cipher Flight. They might one day hold Verimer's power in their hands." Don't you want to at least ask for some sort of payment from them? Such as gold coins or mana cores? Bowler asked. Do you think I am one of those egoistic douchebags? Jack asked. Like those materialistic MCs inside a lot of those internet novels in our past world, who always ask for rewards even from their friends? Ain't it a bit conceited calling yourself an MC? Bowler asked. If I'm not the MC, who is? Master. Well, he does fit the characteristics of those MCs who happen to prefers. Bowler decided to no longer entertain this conversation. Be in those internet novels you mentioned. He is cold, smart, calm, capable, selfish, has knowledge the others don't, has overpowered abilities, and is aiming for the top and rule the world. Euro shit. Now that you mentioned Ida Euro, he can't be the MC. Can he? Jack asked. I hope not. Wait, why are we talking about this? We are not characters in a novel. Bowler yelled. Well, it doesn't matter. MC or not. I'm still going to beat him, Jack declared. Isn't that more interesting? Beating an MC that everyone prefers. Bowler decided to no longer entertain this conversation. Since she had gotten the permission, Murong took Muilan and Grace to a corner and resumed their training. How is your training? Doman asked. Leave me alone. I can use the 9 in abyssal finger already, but I still need some time to get used to it, so I can execute it during a fight. Leave me alone answered. After that, maybe I will try to train the other arts in the 9 in scripture. Doman nodded. He then turned to Jack. What about you? Hee. Jack grinned instead of answering. Suddenly, Doman moved away just as a piercing black light stabbed out from the ground he was standing on. The black light shot up into the ceiling. Why are you so disrespectful, Euro? Leave me alone, scolded. Doman didn't show any sign of anger. He was instead nodding with approval. 9 in phantom sword Euro, such a powerful ancient art. Unpredictable too. If I don't know any better, I will mistake this art for a game skill of this world. Yeah, it's a good ambushing art or something to use when I need to get out of a tight spot, Jack said. But I can't do it often. I feel tapped out after using it every time. Both the 9 in and the 9 yang scriptures are the most mysterious martial arts in existence. It is not strange if these arts are difficult to execute, Doman said. It is already a great feat that you managed to learn one art from the scripture. I have confidence you will overcome this limitation with enough training. Are you going to continue learning the other 2 arts? I already know the basics. I will train them when I can, Jack said. I can't stay cooped up in here for too long. I got responsibilities out there. That reminds me. John asked for you 2 days ago. He said once you are done, go to the palace. Why didn't he just send me a message? Jack asked. Well, everyone in the guild knows you have special training for the week. Maybe he doesn't want to bother you. He is not that considerate. Most likely it is not urgent, but I will still go see what it is, Jack said. You do what you have to do, Doman said. Before leaving, Jack went to Grace and told her that he was going to their wrath. Grace said she wanted to stay here and train. She told Jack sorry she couldn't accompany him. Jack chuckled and told her to train hard. He then left and teleported to their wrath. Entering the throne room, he was greeted by John and Thurgood. Seeing Jack, Thurgood reported, the people from the Council of Charites had just entered Themisphere this morning. We have arranged for a legion to go and escort them to Themonium. It's good to hear they arrive without incident, Jack said. It's not like they need the escort. Their average level is higher than the legion we sent for the escort, John said, which made Thurgood roll his eyes. It is courtesy to make them feel welcomed, Thurgood said. By the way, my Gramps said you were looking for me 2 days ago? Jack asked John. Yeah. 2 days ago, a native human was found dead at one of the border towns. The witness claimed the perpetrator was an orc. What? That was a terrible incident. Why didn't you call me back? Jack asked. Because it won't make any difference even if you are back. There is still too little information, John said. The 6 noble houses were starting to make noises again, Thurgood informed. Currently we can still quell the masses. I must say the effects of Goddess Serenity's blessing and the wonder buildings do help, but we will need to provide an answer soon. Otherwise, things will still get messy. How is the progress of the investigative teams? Jack asked. There are not many clues for them to go with when they first arrived, John answered. But this murder has provided them with fresh clues to investigate. The last time I talked to them, they followed a promising lead. Do you think this murder is connected to the thefts and vandalisms from before? Jack asked. I don't believe in coincidence. The timing, place, and situation were similar. Even if it is a coincidence, treating them as connected is better. Otherwise, we might miss something. We can treat them as separate incidents once we find proof supporting that. Duchess Isabel came in then. Her expression didn't show that she brought good news. I just received message transmissions from 3 different towns near our border with VRMMO, Isabel said. A murder has happened in each town. The victim was native humans. Eyewitnesses again saw orcs leaving the crime scene a euro. How can so many murders happen at the same time? Haven't we increased the security in those towns? Thurgood asked. I have not yet finished, Isabel uttered. The number of murders isn't the worst thing. One of the victims is a prominent member of the Orline house. It was the second son of Hans Orline. What? This is a disaster, Thurgood exclaimed. Yes, Euro, the report says he is currently on a crusade. He is inciting the masses. He even hired several adventurers to help him capture every orc in town for questioning. Tell the guards in that town to stop him. Bring every orc into a safe location and prevent Hans from getting to them, Jack ordered. I've already instructed so, Isabel said. However, I'm not confident the orcs will willingly comply. Jack frowned. Knowing the orcs' nature, he was sure some would object to being forced to move away from where they were staying. Whatever this is, the situation has escalated rather unnaturally, John said. Are you saying this is planned by someone? Isabel asked. Do you remember what this situation reminds you of? Instead of answering Isabel, John asked Jack a question. The murders in Hydrarond? Jack said. John nodded. Do you think Master is behind this? Jack asked again. I'm almost certain he is, John answered. And if this is true, then the situation might be far more worrying than I thought. What do you mean? Thurgood asked. If this is indeed their doing, they must be doing something big behind this operation, John said. My Motiuro, the enemy's chief strategist, is not someone who does things without a reason. Do you think they will attack us? Jack asked. If this is their strategy to destabilize us before they attack, it's possible, John said. They couldn't do it as freely as in Hydrarond because of the blockades you placed on their guilds. In Hydrarond, the murders had gone long enough before the war started. Their guild was only banned when the war started. Before that, they were free to go around causing havoc covertly. Maybe that's why they target our border towns, because the deeper they infiltrate this country, the higher the chance they can be caught. Even if it's only the border towns, they pick targets that are painful to us, Isabel said. Yes, they are aiming at the stability between our peace with VRMMO, Jack agreed. Are we sure it is truly their doing? Thurgood asked. Frankly, I think it is still too early for them to attack us, John said. Unless they have an ace in the hole we don't know about. You mentioned that Master got Joy's divine heritage. Can that give him God's power as it did to Euphysine? Jack had made a short report about his time in the Council of Charites when he was inside the space-time chamber. He sent this report to John and Jeannie. He figured it was still better if they knew what had happened. I don't think so, Jack answered. I have discussed this with wilted outsiders. The way we interact with this world's objects is more instantaneous, like the way we can learn a technique book instantly via messages. Euphysine can utilize Joy's power from her divine heritage because they are both denizens of this world. We are outsiders. The way we interact with this world's objects is more instantaneous, like the way we can learn a technique book instantly while the natives have to spend time training them. That's why Master won't be able to utilize the divine heritage the way Euphysine did. He will most likely use it to craft another godkiller or another unknown item. Plus, If he can get a god's power just by acquiring the divine heritage, why go through the trouble of collecting the 7 divine treasures? HMEuro, you are right. But the fact that he got that divine heritage is still worrying. Well, anyway, it should be safer to assume that they will attack, John said. I've sent messages to the investigative teams about these new murders. They should be able to gather more clues from these fresh sites. In the meantime, I will start gathering the army just in case. It is better to prepare rather than get caught off guard. You do that, I will go to the town where Hans Orlein is and try to keep things from going out of hand, Jack said. He then asked Isabel, which is what town? It's Thanitsa, Isabel answered. It's also the border town that was occupied by Verimer's first army during their invasion. Many of the inhabitants there still have fresh memories of the occupation, so their enmity toward the orcs is rather strong there. Jack nodded. I will be going there then. I will notify the governor in Thanitsa, so he will be ready for your majesty's arrival, Isabel said. Jack talked with John and Thurgood a little longer while Isabel went to inform Thanitsa's governor. Afterward, he walked toward the teleportation chamber. On the way, he sent messages to Four Winds informing him of the recent incidents. Four Winds told him that things were also in an uproar here. An emergency meeting for the council members had been called, which he would be attending shortly. One thing he knew for sure to appear on the meeting agenda must be about Rek losing the border and halting any interaction between Themisphere and Verimer. This would severely hurt the peace they had been striving for. For Winds informed Jack he would try to influence the Lord Chiefs of the Council so that the border stayed open, but he honestly admitted he was not confident. If the murders were not resolved in a short time, things might get from bad to worse. Jack told Four Winds to delay the council for as long as possible, while he tried finding out the real cause of these incidents. Four Winds told him to not take too long. Jack teleported to Thanitsa's zone portal. Arriving there, a man with the age of around 50 wearing an ornate robe was waiting for him. A squad of soldiers was on standby behind him. Welcome to Thanitsa, Your Majesty. The man greeted with a bow. The squad behind him saluted. I am Lance Guinan, this town's governor. I wish I could have welcomed you in a more favorable situation. I understand, Governor Lance, Jack replied, telling everyone to be at ease. Tell me about the situation. We have implemented a curfew, Lance informed. We sent out a call to every orc who is still in town to move to the inns of our choosing, which are close to the guard station. Unfortunately, some of the orcs are stubborn and refuse to follow our request. We have no choice but to have a couple of soldiers follow these orcs, which turns out to be the right decision. Some of these orcs got into arguments with the townsfolks. If not for the presence of the soldiers, things would have heated up to a fistfight. I wish very much to just drag these stubborn orcs to a safe place, but I assume you will not be happy about that, will you? You have done the right thing, Jack replied. Also, I have barred entry for more orcs into this town, Lance continued. If more orcs come, and they also don't want to follow instructions, I won't have enough manpower to manage them. It was not ideal, but Jack thought it couldn't be helped. It was already good that Lance didn't decide to chase out the orcs inside the town or use force to compel them to gather. How about Hans Orlein? Jack asked. Well, he gathered a mob recently and was marching toward the inns I had designated to safeguard the orcs. It's a good thing I intercepted him. He was currently on house arrest. Good job, Governor Lance, Jack praised. Just for the record, Hans is a good friend of mine, Lance said. It gives me a bad taste for detaining him, and to tell you the truth, I don't share any love for these orcs. I had a cousin who was killed during Verimer's occupation when they invaded us half a year ago. I understand it serves the kingdom's interest to form peace with Verimer. That's why I go along with the order, but I'm afraid we are walking on thin ice. I can stop Hans because the mob that follows him is small, but this mob is growing even as we speak. I'm afraid things will get out of hand sooner or later unless we catch the one who murdered Hans' son and bring that orc to justice. You are certain the murderer is an orc? Jack asked. We have eyewitnesses who confirmed that, Lance answered. Can I meet these eyewitnesses? We have already gathered them. They are currently talking with Your Majesty's guild members. That must be one of the investigative teams John sent, Jack thought. Take me to them, please, Jack said. Right this way, Your Majesty. Lance ushered Jack to a carriage. The squad of soldiers followed their carriage on foot. Jack looked at the town from the carriage's window. It was still daylight, but very few people walked the street. Many of the shops were also closed. The curfew had limited the town's activities. It would hurt the town's economy and happiness, but it was necessary under the circumstances. They arrived at the guard station, which was where the eyewitnesses had been gathered. Jack saw a bunch of people leave just as they arrived. Those were the eyewitnesses, Lance told Jack. The interrogation must have been concluded. Should I call them back so Your Majesty can question them? No need, Jack said. The investigative teams were comprised of professionals. Anything he could think to ask would have been asked by the team. Aside from those eyewitnesses, Jack saw two people who walked toward them after sighting them. A young woman and a middle-aged man. Your Majesty, the young woman greeted. Sire. The man also greeted. Shirley Cannon. Jack addressed the two. Jack knew the two from the investigative teams. The young woman's name was Shirley Holmes. She was a famous detective in their past life who had solved many difficult cases even when she was still in high school. The middle-aged name was Cannondale, a famous mystery author who also had a side occupation as a special consultant to the police department on many high-profile cases. These two were as good as he could hope to handle the current sensitive case. Did you find anything? Jack asked. The eyewitnesses gave matching statements, Cannon answered. We have checked their backgrounds. They aren't related to each other. The details in their explanation also don't seem fabricated, so we can rule out false evidence here. Yumi Anayuro, the murderer is indeed an orc, Shirley answered before Jack completed his question. Jack's forehead creased. If this was true, it was the worst thing to happen. Then one of the orcs in this city should be the perpetrator, Lance said. I will gather all the orcs for the eyewitnesses Toayuro. There is no need, Shirley cut Lance's speech. I believe the murderer has left the town. How can you be so sure? Lance asked. These murders happened in different towns at almost the same time. We can rule out crimes of passion as their causes. They were most likely planned. What happened should be similar to the murder 2 days ago. We have investigated that murder thoroughly. The orc that fit the eyewitness's description was seen leaving town not long from when the time of death was estimated. I believe the one here is the same. You didn't block orcs from leaving town, do you? Cannon asked Lance. No, Euro, we prevent additional orcs from entering. We didn't stop them from leaving. Because you consider the orcs who leave as good riddance, Shirley said. What are you implying? Lance wasn't happy with Shirley's words. Please don't be offended, Governor, Shirley said. I wasn't criticizing your reasons. I was simply saying that it is a pity because we won't be able to capture the perpetrator. Perpetrators, if you consider the murderers in the other towns, Cannon said. I believe the governors in the other towns did the same as you, Shirley added. She then turned to Jack. Your Majesty, if you will, please instruct all the border towns to start applying checks on all the orcs entering and exiting the town. If a murder happens again, the town should be in lockdown. No orc should be permitted to leave until we capture the murderer. Euro, I prefer there to be no more murder, Jack uttered. So do we, but we need to prepare for the worst, Shirley said. Is there no clue as to the perpetrator? What about their motive? Jack asked. I'm afraid we have no idea about the motive, Cannon said. But we might have something about the murderers. It is still unclear, though, Shirley said as she gave Cannon a disapproving look. Cannon chuckled. Forgive my partner here. She disliked sharing things that are still ambiguous. After questioning the eyewitnesses just now, we might have found something that links the murderer in this town with the one 2 days ago, Shirley said. But I don't want us to jump into assumptions. We are still waiting for the report from the other towns where the other murders occurred. Once we cross-check the facts, we should be able to make a better deduction. Let me know once you have something tangible, Jack said. He didn't want to push for an explanation if the two were not certain. Jack turned to Lance and asked, Where is Hans being held? We escorted him back to his mansion. I placed some soldiers there to keep him from leaving. Bring me to him, please, Jack commanded. Forgive me, Your Majesty, but is that wise? Lance said. He is currently not in an appropriate state of mind. His family is also still grieving. I understand that's why I need to meet him. An emotional person might do things that harm himself or others, especially a person of his influence. I need to determine how unstable he is to make sure if a house arrest is enough. If it's not, do Your Majesty plan to put him in jail? Lance asked. As Your Majesty mentioned, he has influence. Jailing him will just rile up his supporters. We will then have a worse situation to deal with. We will cross that bridge when that happens. Right now, I just want to meet with him. Lance sighed. Since it is Your Majesty's command, so be it. Jack and Lance went back into the carriage. Jack invited Shirley and Cannon to tag along. They had already finished the interrogation and investigated the crime scene. They just need to review the available evidence as well as wait for the reports from the other investigative teams. Inside the carriage, Jack asked Shirley and Cannon about the recent case. Han's second son, Neil Orline, was a commoner, meaning he had no combat ability and was thus easy to kill. Cannon suspected this was perhaps the reason Neil was targeted. Neil also enjoyed hanging out with the civilians in the taverns around the business district. The incident happened an hour before dawn when Neil was leaving the tavern. He was with his friends, all of them were drunk. On their way, they bumped into an orc and an argument ensued. The situation had not been good between orcs and humans after the theft and vandalism 2 weeks ago. The news about the murder 2 days ago also caused the already tense situation to become worse. Many of the townspeople preferred all the orcs in the town to be chased out. The orc they argued with chose to leave, but he threw some insults before leaving. This aroused Neil and his friends' anger. They ended up chasing the orc who ran away into an alley. His friends continued to chase the orc through the alley until they came out to another street. The orc they were chasing was pretty fast. They soon lost the orc. At that time, they noticed that Neil was not with them. Neil had always been the slowest among them, so they went back to the alley to look for him. As they walked, they saw another orc come out of the alley but went the opposite way. They ignored that orc and went into the alley, only to find that Neil was already dead inside the alley. Neil's friends hate orcs, don't they? Maybe they make a false statement about seeing an orc leaving the alley, Jack asked. Although the street was mostly deserted during that hour, there are some people who start opening shops, Cannon replied. They collaborated on Neil's friends' stories. Jack nodded. These two should have gone through the testimonies. He won't waste time second-guessing them. How was Neil murdered? Jack asked. A stab wound to the heart, Shirley answered. The wound pattern matched with the daggers that are common in VRMMO, which was slightly curved. There are also signs of struggle, Cannon added. We found trace evidence in Neil's hand, a small piece of torn fabric. We have analyzed the fabric by comparison. It was a special one that is only sold in VRMMO. All the evidence pointed to the orcs, Jack summarized. They do, Shirley agreed. Don't you find them a bit too convenient? Jack asked. Are Your Majesty implying that someone is trying to frame the orcs? Lance asked. He was not too happy about Jack's statement. It was as if Jack was trying hard to find a reason to suggest that the murderer was not an orc. I'm sorry if I didn't say it out correctly, Jack said. I agree that from all the evidence, the murderer is no doubt an orc. What I am saying is that this orc might be acting under command to ruin our country's relationship with VRMMO. Do the witnesses tell what the orc that came out of the alley looks like? Have we tried searching for this orc among the ones that are still in this town? I issued the search not long after the murder was reported, Lance answered. But as we previously discussed, the murderer must have left town immediately. We didn't find any orc matching his descriptions. What about the one Neil's friends were chasing? Jack asked. There might be a chance the two were working together. I have thought of that probability and informed the good governor here earlier, Shirley said. This other orc is also no longer in this town, Lance said. At the same time, he peeked outside through the carriage's window. We have arrived at the Orline mansion, he informed.